And we're back. Episode 199 of Comin podcast is brought to us by
the Philadelphia Comedy Club. If you use the following code,
CAY Pod,
you get a discounted ticket and a free handy.
Yeah, well, it's Philly Comedy Club.
PhillyComedyClub.com.
Now,
also brought to us by?
Does that handy come with lotion or is it dry?
It really depends. It's your preference.
I gotta be honest, you don't run engine without oil. You're jerking me off.
Okay, dealer's choice then.
Also brought to us by Rus Tattoo.
Rus Tattoo, I just talked to him. I just saw him. He's on the mend. He had a really bad ear infection. And he's finally getting back to work. But he said hello.
Also brought to us by Stream Cage Combat.
Helen, you're looking good.
Also brought to us by Leatherman Tools.
I use it every day.
You're getting shorter with these.
You know, at one point he was too long.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden he's...
like I would say Leatherman Tools, and he would go to like a 5-minute tirade, pull his Leatherman tool out, talk to everything about it. Now he's like, I use it every day. WWE Network.
It's a good time. I was watching it this morning in my underwear on my couch.
You're getting worse at these by the second.
Because I'm a grown
This
man.
is brought to you by WWE Network. That's cool.
Oh yeah. Also, I'm losing my my headphones here. There we go. I lost mine over here. Who else is it brought to us by? Do we still have Fleshlight?
Fleshlight. I could wax poetic about that, and I don't just mean that as a...
You know what the Fleshlight is?
I do, and I keep finding myself in
Just pure
situations
shame
where
on
it's like,
Russ's
oh,
face.
we're sponsored by Fleshlight. I'm like, can't wait to explain that again to my wife.
The best $80 you'll ever spend.
Oh, thank you. Well, I thank you for assuming I have $80.
So we have a guest on our show. How do you say your last name, Russ? Is it
Gutin.
Gutin. Rus Gutin from Philly Comedy Club.
That's
Like
me.
gluten, but you take the L out.
Yes.
He used to be on a podcast called...
I had my own podcast. We did 8 episodes called Allergic to Gluten.
Wow.
But the way...
So you have a gluten allergy?
I do, actually. I am allergic to most glutens. There are only particular ones that go down
The
smooth.
way I had met Russ is we were going out for a friend's birthday. It was actually my birthday and my buddy's birthday, right? And my buddy's wife is like, hey, let's get some tickets to a comedy club. I'm like, all right, cool. So we get tickets. We go down to this comedy club, not realizing it's the first night.
It was like the first or second night, I'm pretty sure.
So it's like 4 comedians. It's probably about 2 hours long, and there's 6 of us in the crowd, right?
Oof.
And he gets up on stage and he's warming everybody up, and we're having a good time right off the bat because you got to make eye contact with these guys. Like, there's no way around. Like, it's totally on. And he's standing on the stage, and the stage collapses.
Well, yeah.
From under him. And
they didn't lock it.
It hits the ground like nothing happened and just keeps on going. So right after that, we had like 4 comedians come on after that, and I guess all these guys they're all professionals.
All of them, yeah.
From all over the place. And I had the best time. And it was the first time I ever went to a comedy club where you were kind of forced to interact with everybody. But I had such a good time, and at the end of the show, I walked up to Russ. I'm like, dude, we do this comedy, this podcast. You got to come on. Like and we kind of been talking since. But so anyway, Russ is here.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I really enjoy that story because that is exactly how almost every show that I've ever built has a story like that where it started out. I was at the first one. There was 6 people there. So it's really great, and that night was really fun. I mean, I think that night we had Alexis Guerreros and Christian Polanco from the Soccer Cooligans. We had Luciana Gatica. We had Mike Cannon, whose album came out 2 weeks later and was #1 or whatever pre-sale on iTunes.
He was great. And then who was the guy that said everybody thinks he's from Africa or something?
Oh, that's Christian Polanco.
Okay,
he's hysterical. And again, it was so funny that we had Mike Cannon. There were 6 people there. 2 weeks later, his album just was #7 on Billboard, or
Is
whatever.
It really? Holy crap!
So it just came out.
Crazy.
So again, a shout out to them because I've always specialized in all killer, no filler.
Okay.
I don't think that the first. And again, I was talking to Todd about this. Todd, I know you have one job, so I don't want to distract you from it.
I'm already lost.
Zing, mother. And whatchamacallit, but. No, I sort of ended up accidentally becoming this well-known for being a cold opener who goes on before anybody, sometimes with no video. At least at a big club like Gotham, they'll
just
play
come out of the gate.
Here, Fluffy's coming. Here's a Fluffy clip or whatever the
Right,
You know,
they
when-
get somebody just kind of warm up.
Yeah, no, it's just like march your ass out
So
there.
you're like the dark match.
Yeah, exactly. And I sort of I was like, how am I going to do this? But then I got pretty good at it. And also, it was something that wasn't an easy fit because I don't really do crowd work. I do crowd emotional accosting. Like it's a lot of energy. I go right into my material, my story. I don't care what kind of sweater you're wearing. I'm not really interested in your occupation. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
right.
So the people that do that too, like we're gonna have James Mattern coming down to host.
We had Shuley from.
Yeah, we had Shuley, and we had him. We had James
Who was the
Mattern.
guy you had on last week? The big Philly.
Oh, last week we had Chuck Nice, who
Okay.
was
I know
who's
that name.
awesome. Oh, he's been on everything. Best week ever.
Yeah.
He's the co-host of Neil deGrasse Tyson's.
That's
podcast.
where I know that guy from.
Yeah, and it was so funny because we were talking to him last week, and the odor of infusion. Jamie said, "You know, I think Chuck was right about him saying we should do our cocktail classes, do a YouTube thing of it." And I was like, "Well, put it like this, Jamie. Neil deGrasse Tyson thinks that Chuck Nice is smart, so I'm pretty sure whatever the fuck we think
You
doesn't
gotta
mean
give him some
shit."
credit for whatever he's
Yeah,
thinking
go
now.
watch Cosmos. Go drop a hit of acid
but-
and watch Cosmos. Get back to me.
After we had talked the first time, I kind of checked him out. He sent me some links, and he started talking about on your comedy special, Legal Guardian.
Right, thank you. Yeah,
I
yeah.
watched it.
Talking about some of his anxieties and stuff like that. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta introduce him to Bullet. This is gonna be a whole thing.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, what you see is what you get. You know, it used to be more of a, at least for me, it used to be more like, what can I write that's funny? And then
Yeah.
after 9/11, I was in New York. I had a sketch comedy show I was the head writer for, and I was doing stand-up, so everything was very angry and political and long hair and all that stuff. But then, you know, there's only so many ways to skin that cat. People don't really want to know your opinion, I learned, if they don't know who you are.
Yeah, that happens.
So I was like,
often.
wow, only 30% of the people seem to be having fun, and the other 70 would like to fight me outside.
That's a good show for me.
Yeah, no, again, and
That's a great show
I
for
like,
Bullet.
I like an antagonistic. You know, there's still a part of me that misses that element, you know.
Right.
But then when I went to LA and I started working at the Comedy Store, and I used to run the Friday nights in the belly room at the Comedy Store, so those lineups that I used to have, you couldn't even do.
So you
now.
made a transition from like really working at hard and trying to entertain a crowd to just being yourself.
Just once you're at the Comedy Store, like you really have to like whatever bullshit, you know, whatever magic tricks you're using, you know, that very quickly is seen through.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were put in a position where like, yeah, but what makes you fucking interesting?
You can
Yes.
only be you.
Yeah, and
Cheers,
that's
by the
what oh, cheers. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.
And so again, I sort of accidentally became this cold opener, but it was only because being at the Comedy Store, learning to be 100% yourself and all that stuff. So,
That's despicable.
It was a joke. No, he's not talking about. He's talking about the face.
oh yeah, no, I didn't realize that you made that face with the shot. I thought you were
Oh,
agreeing
geez.
with me, but then I saw you make
I was
this
thinking
sour.
because he started.
Oh.
Making it. So how did you get started in comedy for starters?
Put myself up there for that shot.
Oh, okay, good. Yes.
Fucking despicable.
Well, I forgot what we were saying, but again, shout out to the Comedy
We
Store.
were, we were talking about how you had made a transition from trying.
Oh
to work
yeah,
the
well
crowd
that's
to-
again, and I attribute the Comedy Store to that. That and my wife were the ones that were like, but you're problematic, Russell. You are a person who has so much wrong with him. Why don't you just because
Just unleash
you know
it.
I have the
Well,
allergies and the anxieties and stuff.
How long were you performing before you decided to do that?
Well, to answer your next question, when did I start? I wanted to be a comedian from the time I was 4 years old. And so it was something that I had always sort of sought to do and planned to do. There was a short period of time where I convinced myself I was going to be the smallest NFL player that ever lived.
You were Rudy.
Yeah, oh yeah, and I was also going to be in the NBA. But those dreams were quickly dashed.
The Rudy and Spud
yes,
Webb dreams were just-
yeah.
Well,
Shattered.
but I think in any type of performance, I think when you're first starting out, the first several years especially, you're emulating your influences.
Always. I was just going to say that.
But,
Like I started.
but eventually you're going to find your own thing and stop trying to be the next guy.
Exactly.
The next
It's so
version of
funny
this,
you
but you're
say
going to be
that.
the first me.
Yeah, because when I started dabbling with it already in high school, junior high school, But then
You have a degree in.
I went to school for musical theater. So
Okay.
I actually, like I was saying on the cue, I went to West, Cherry Hill West. I had a really good time there, a really great time, and even the Wellbutrin that the doctors were prescribing to me to calm me down, I would snort what I wanted and then sell the rest to like the kid's dad who was looking for, you know. So listen, always hustling. The hustle is real. But then after sophomore year, I went to rehab. I sort of got in a bunch of trouble with rehab. You know, because I was always getting into fights and stuff like that, and of course I was always holding.
Right.
So it was one thing to get in the fight, the cop will let you go, but then you're holding.
Yeah, then you're fishing out and find some stuff.
No, the only thing that ever saved me in any of those situations, and I can tell you a lot of stories, is always me being funny. So I still should have gotten in way more trouble. I mean, that was not my blood on that shirt. But I started when I was 19 in 1999. My first gig ever was at Caroline's in March of 1999.
Where's
Hell of a
Caroline's
first
at?
fucking gig. That's
Yeah,
Caroline's
that's a
is like
big
a
gig.
Yeah,
legendary-
and I took a master class with Marilyn Sokol, who worked with Andy Kaufman, and I like saying Kaufman.
Yeah,
So anyways.
That's like Millennium Falcon.
The
Andy
correct
Kaufman. Kaufman.
Jewish pronunciation.
Yeah, well, I've met
is
Tony
Kaufman.
Clifton. I've never met Bob Zabuda, but I have met Tony Clifton.
Yeah, he's still doing it.
And whatchamacallit, but I took a master class with Marilyn Sokol, where she just you created an act and did it in the class, and then your graduation show was, because now stand-up classes are everywhere and they're such bullshit.
Right.
But this was like with somebody who like was Richard Pryor contemporary.
So you took the class before you ever even got up on stage.
Well, yeah, I got into AMDA. I got a scholarship to go to AMDA, which is the American Musical and Dramatics Academy. When I switched to Cherry Hill East, they do like 8 shows a year.
Okay.
So I went right into theater. Of course, I was still smoking weed, but like I calmed down with like snorting anything, got my life together. And
leveled out a little bit.
And leveled out, settled in, kind of like a baseball player. They didn't even really make me take any regular classes that the state didn't require. They're just like, hang out by the theater, take singing
That
classes.
sounds like a good school.
Yeah, well, at least for me it was. They're like, you're already special
Did you have to
needs.
sight read and everything?
Yeah, and stuff like
So, yeah,
that.
I
Yeah, so so again, they're like, stick to what you know.
You'll get an A for that.
Yeah, and at West it was stick to what you know, Jew, but at East it was like, stick to what you know, fellow Jew. So I was, I took that class right as I went to AMDA. So even though AMDA had a strict, like, no performing outside policy, again, I had to convince them. I was like,
Why can't you perform outside?
because when you're first training you, they want you to really just focus on that. They also don't want you to be associating them with your raw talent. They
Yeah,
would
if
only
you're
like you to
shitty.
go out as a polished turd.
Right.
And
That makes sense.
but I had to convince them. I was like, but this is, listen, like, I want to do this, but this is, anything I do is still to do this.
So how long was the course that you took?
A few weeks,
Okay.
and then boom.
Were you
So no, because I was 19, so I had
You
no.
didn't know better.
You didn't know
I had
better.
no fear. I had
But
no.
you're also on stage though performing.
Well, yeah,
music.
and I was a promoter for my uncle's nightclubs here in Philadelphia growing up. I was telling you that he used to own Shampoo in Egypt. So when I was a senior
Oh,
in
shit,
high
I still
school
love
Whatever those
Egypt.
places.
and a
That's right.
freshman in
We're looking
college
up some
still.
chicks down there.
Oh yeah, we could talk. We talk about that. Imagine a little high school senior who's as small as I am, even smaller, with like 2 huge black guys. But I would have the list.
Oh, at the
So
front
they'd
door.
be like, I know the guy who owns this place. They'd be like, oh yeah, what's my uncle's name? It's not Schmecky. It's not Schmecky. They would be like, get him out of here, Chuck.
So you were doing all that. So you knew what you wanted to do.
Yeah,
and
there were like 300 people there to see me at Caroline. So
like family members and friends.
friends, family members, people who knew me from the nightclub game. I was in theater school, and back then, here's the thing: there was no social media. Everybody didn't have
Word of mouth.
And again, everybody wasn't trying to be a comedian. Everybody didn't have a podcast. Everybody didn't have YouTube
Right.
and all these things. So being a comedian was this really sort of
Special.
exotic, like almost like rare bird. Like, look, don't
disturb 'em.
don't disturb the rare
Get
bird.
your binoculars out.
And so
Yeah.
the whole front row was like all theater kids like me, and then the whole back was every Jew I'd ever met since JCC Camp Hilltop when I was 5. Like, because a lot of them go to NYU,
Yeah,
obviously.
but there's a very specific Jewish humor though too, that with a history of it.
Well, yeah, of course,
So
but it
it's-
was one of those things where I used that to my advantage, but I just used all of it. And also, like I said, I was a promoter by nature, by my job, plus I wanted to do this. So
Right.
even when I was on stage, I had no fear of any of it. And as a matter of fact, it was almost bad because there was 300 people. I kicked its ass. I did really well. So I was like, well, this took me all of 5 minutes.
And then
Now I must get my serious actor Oscar.
yeah.
And of course, here I am talking to you in Langhorne, PA.
Man, how life is
19 years later in a basement promoting Philly Comedy Club. No, but no. Again, I'm so glad that I made that choice early.
So you've been doing this almost 20 years.
Yeah, this is my life. I mean, I understood. I loved Kung Fu growing up.
Right.
I loved Star Wars. I loved all these things that took from Asian culture and being a master, and it was just something I understood that was
Not
like
really into the Asian culture, really, all that much.
You're
Oh,
not-
man.
No, tattoos.
Oh.
No, tattoos.
My goodness! Oh, I didn't see your arms. My God! So hey, oh my God! I don't know if you know this, but somebody has drawn a dragon on your arm.
What?
Do you think
What
he's,
kind of prank is this? Usually, kids draw dicks.
if he was into Asian culture,
Bullshit.
if he
an
was into
ornate
Asian culture,
dick.
Chris, do you think he
I
went
knew
to
that wasn't cocaine
what's the
that I bought on Craigslist.
martial arts world downtown? When you
Asian
were
world
going,
of martial arts.
did you ever go down there? If you were into that,
No.
Oh,
But
best
well.
supply store in the world back in the day.
Oh well, I have to tell
Franco
you.
Mills.
Now,
Gangsta
Asian world
City.
of martial arts used to be on Arch Street.
Arch Street, yeah, but then they opened up another one by.
You know what? But I did once
Yeah.
smoke weed behind a Tiger Shaman's.
That's
and,
close enough.
And Mr. Tiger came out, and he was furious. But then I was like, you know what? Let's meditate on this. And he's like,
Yeah, but
you
then-
are a centered wise
Most
man.
of those people that go to that school probably have to smoke weed to believe that bullshit.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
when we get into, I know
It's
what.
like the Walmart of
Yes,
fucking
yes.
martial
No, I
arts
just,
places.
hey, listen, I'm just grasping
I don't
it.
care.
No, but I just knew that being a stand-up to me felt like the only way a Jewish guy could become a master. Like this seemed to be like a zen.
This is the one.
Well, that
This
was your
something-
sword.
Did
yeah,
you-
it was something that you could do until you died.
And you felt a level of success after that first show. That was probably
Well,
unlike
at
most
first,
people.
at
feel.
first,
Oh, yeah, the sword.
you know, especially being in New York, and also I had like a phone list. Remember when you used to have a phone list in your
Yeah.
wallet of all your phone
Yeah, so I
numbers
could
before
make my
cell?
beeper calls.
Oh yeah, I had a beeper. I was one of the. My dad worked at Radio Shack at the Cherry Hill Mall for like 30 years.
So
Okay,
you had
right,
all this shit.
right
Dude,
next.
you
So
got
I
all the
had
good
no.
stuff.
We had the first. This is true. We had the first Sprint phones ever.
Did you have a
And my
handwritten
buggers.
my dad signed a blood oath to Sprint. Like they were like, if you get this first phone, this first contract. So like for like honestly like 20 years, like his bill never went up. And like
Really?
we always had a phone. So I never had to worry about having a phone. I always had a pager. I always had batteries for the pager because my dad works at Radio Shack.
Yeah, you get all the hookups.
Yeah, and if you ever need the Auntie Anne's pretzels at the end of the night, they gave those to my dad too.
You had all the remote control
Oh,
cars.
always,
radio.
always. Hanukkah was really fun. Everybody got a fucking remote control car, but it wasn't as thoughtful a gift when you know he got it for pennies on the dollar with something that was returned. he fixed it and then
Remember
gave it to
remote
all.
control cars that had the cords attached to them? Like, you ever get
and
one of
it walked
those? That's
behind
the
you.
worst feeling.
I hated those.
So you,
yeah.
you went to school for musical theater, right?
Yep. Uh-huh.
So what was it that attracted you? Was it the fact that you didn't have to rely or work with other people? Because it's similar because in music, any type of theater or comedy is you're getting an immediate reaction.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, this is working. I know this is working. This is good. But where being a comedian is, it's on you.
Absolutely.
Where versus, I think like
It's like a fighter almost.
comedian is like a singular sport, like being a boxer.
I love
where,
boxers. I love kung
where-
fu. I love all that kind of stuff. So I always
But musical
equate-
theater is more
yeah.
like being on a baseball team. You're working with a team of people.
Yeah, so I love.
So you're
I
only
love
as good as the
both.
fucking team.
Yeah, and I was never. Look, I'm never gonna be the starting safety for the Eagles. Okay, I tell my wife all the time. I started 3 games freshman
Yeah,
football.
but
Cherry Hill
a backup kicker just hit a 61-yard.
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
field
And you know
goal.
what? He played tennis all through. He's only been playing football for 6 years. He was.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard this today, but he was actually at a game. I forget for what college he went to. Was
Guarantee he got his dick sucked. Good.
Yeah.
that night.
Well, listen. We can.
They went
only
around the
pray,
world.
Prayer
Yeah,
up.
we can only
To whatever God you.
No, apparently he was called out of the. He was a tennis player at his college. He got called out of the stand to kick a field goal, like as a contest, and the coach was like,
Holy
"Who's
shit.
this guy?" And sort of
Kick some balls.
they hated their kicker. They got him to come on as a walk on. So Philadelphia very much benefited from absolute serendipitous
That is
shit
crazy.
the other day. And I love the Eagles. I'm obsessed about the Eagles, so I know everything.
I gotta be honest. I don't watch football at all. I don't watch any sport other than boxing and soccer.
Oh, okay. Well, I love
funny
I love all the
because-
4 major sports, but I would say football. The
I used
Eagles
to
is
But
my
you're
watch
favorite.
a
like
lot
you're
more.
like a big burly looking tough guy, and it's like not.
Yeah, but watching what you watch is that I would believe that if you were like, I like a good curling Batch. I'd be like, oh, this guy's from Trailer Park Boys.
What the fuck?
I see. What are you from Ontario, Canada's breadbasket?
So you do your first show and it's huge. Like, what's your second step after that? You're like,
You know what?
Horrible.
Funnily
World
enough,
tour?
yeah. Funnily enough, I
Horrible.
auditioned at New York Comedy Club, which is now owned by my manager and who is now, I guess, my boss, because the Philly Comedy Club is a spinoff of the new owners of New York Comedy Club. So funnily
okay.
enough, it has a happy ending that all these 20 years later, almost, the
Comes full
owner of the
circle.
club is my business. You know, I work for him for this show, but is also my manager. And owns New York Comedy Club. He believes in, he does so much great work for comics. Emilio Savone. He's not the only person in the company, but of course he's looked out for me, especially
Right.
over the last few years. But I auditioned at New York Comedy Club the next week. You have to audition for the owner at like 3:00 in the afternoon, and I did really
is there a
well.
crowd when you're auditioning? or
No,
is
it was
just
like
a
this
dude
is back in
sitting
the
in a
day,
chair
just
like,
like rah, rah.
make me laugh.
Yeah. And the other comics liked me, so I handed them a flyer, because of course I'm a promoter from Philly
You're hustling.
by nature, to what is going to be my the class at Caroline's was just going to have me on their next show.
Right.
So I handed.
So you're
I already had
advertising at a
flyers.
different comedy club?
Well, this guy grabs
Fucking
me.
nuts.
He grabbed the old owner. He grabs me. You know, you'll never fucking work here. You don't have that. I was like, I didn't know. It was just to another comic. I was just
19,
saying, come
damn
on.
it.
Well, I was 19. Yeah, I really didn't know. And so my teacher, Marilyn, had to call Al, the owner, and say, hey, he's a good boy. I just met his parents and his grandparents. He's a good boy. It's all he's ever wanted. You know, he just wants to sing and dance. And when he's not singing and dancing, he just wants to tell jokes, you know. And then, so they gave me a Saturday night. But back then, and they still have these things today, you had to bring 7 people to get 7 minutes, right?
Yeah, you had to bring you.
But
Oh,
they
person a
didn't
minute?
they
They had
didn't
to play.
plan on Rus Gutin.
You brought 300?
Yeah, well,
So
I
Russ
just
did a
packed the
300-minute
whole
show?
the whole place and just, you know, destroyed it. And back then I
It
was
was like the Exodus of Egypt.
well, I was obsessed with Andy Kaufman back then too. Yeah, it was. Well, of sprightly theater people, who are a great audience, by the way. But back then, I was obsessed with Andy Kaufman too. So I wrote a whole, and I always wanted to write something new. I thought you had to write something new every time, but it wasn't until I got into the autobiographical part of my
Right, you
career
realize you
where
can
I started
do-
realizing I have to do a bit for 4 years maybe until it's
So,
right.
Yeah, so you really nail it. And you also have, you
There's
have the ability to travel where people don't see it. And part of the problem, like I was listening to Fighter and the Kid, which is a good podcast.
Oh yeah, I
They-
love
they had
Brian
Chris
so
D'Elia-
much.
They had Chris D'Elia on.
Yeah, and I got
And they were talking about how with the internet right now and access to everything, you can't do the same show all the time like you used to in the past.
Yeah, so I sort of reversed it. It's funny because I do sort of focus, like right now I'm working on Legal Guardian Volume 2, but I've been working on that for a long time because I keep getting sort of sidetracked into different projects. But it keeps growing and changing, and so I love the evolution of a set now. I've learned to love that. But back then, I always wanted to write new shit.
Right.
And so back then I also loved audience plants. Like I loved having like
have
get-
somebody
body,
you know, in
some-
the
like
crowd,
getting
like
it-
a magician. Like
yeah, like I got my friend
can I
Robbie,
get somebody out of the crowd?
African American Shakespearean trained actor, and so I would have him in the audience. And back then I used to end with this thing. They used to have the taxi voices when you got into the cab, and it would be a celebrity and
Right.
stuff like that. So I would do some impressions, and I would do Gilbert Godfrey, and I would do all these, you know, doing the taxi voice. And I said they should have James Brown, and I break into this like really perfect James Brown, which of course, like you said, back then I was emulating Eddie Murphy. Back then, if you closed your eyes, it was a kid doing an impersonation of George Carlin. And then same thing with the Andy Kaufman thing. I would do the James Brown. I land in a split. A perfect split, because back then I was so
It was
pliable.
beautiful.
I was
I
so
could
never do that. I
limber.
could never do
I was
that.
so fucking limber back in school. And
I just recently could see my dick.
yeah, oh wow, how is it doing?
Disappointing.
Oh, I would imagine.
It was
You know?
like I felt like Alfie from fucking Christmas Story. Like son of a bitch.
Oh,
I did
man.
all these fucking setups for that.
all the hoopla, the $80 for the fleshlight for this.
Oh no, that's no.
Oh, okay, that's still
that's
worth
an
it.
investment.
Maybe she's worth it.
That's something he's going to probably hand down to his kids as he gets older.
No,
No,
God bless
I
it.
probably
Well,
won't.
you
I'd
just-
be-
Daddy's
no,
flag.
put it next to Daddy's ashes.
That thing won't last.
Put the ashes in.
Inside it.
I beat that thing up like a heavy bag, like Tyson in '87.
Oh my God! The next thing you're gonna tell me it was molded off of Betty White's.
No, he selected.
Golden
He was-
Girl.
Riley Reid.
Yeah, Riley Reid. Like he
Yeah.
can pick
No,
his
I
vagina.
know. That's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
aware that me and my wife are like, oh, and it can be molded off of a person. How absolutely fucking disturbing.
What if
So-
you got a molding of your own wife? Is that not cheating or anything?
Well, that, I
You
guess
can do that with the
that would be
dogs.
okay. I feel like that's
You can do
a
that
good
with
loophole.
yourself.
One thing that's always
Uh-huh.
kind of attracted me to comedy is there's a lot of parallels with music. And I don't want to say musician because that's so pretentious. I'm a musician.
He's in a band, by the way.
But I've been playing music my whole life.
Yeah, no, I play music too, so yeah.
You know what I mean, though.
I listen to music.
But I think a lot of the times when you're starting out, there's a difference between having influences and emulating them, and being on stage and copying their shit.
Yeah.
And then eventually you find out who you are, and there's that magic moment of, no, this is who I am.
Well, that's what I was going to tell you. Yeah, with the audience play, it was great because he would stand up, he'd be like, you can't be doing James Brown, you white motherfucker. I'd be like, yo, Urkel, calm down. And he'd be like, motherfucker, please. But it was when episode 1 was coming out. So you'll love this. So all of a sudden he goes, what you call me, motherfucker? And he reaches down. And everybody
hits the floor.
of course, is really
Right.
scared. And he whips out the red lightsaber. And then my friend is in the booth and he hits the music. And my other friend from across the room throws me the green. I go, no. And then, like, of course, we've done Shakespeare, we've done all these, Renaissance, so it's and then then we hug and make up, and the police go fucking nuts.
This is pre 9/11.
Right, yeah.
You don't do
It
that
was.
shit in
It was,
person.
yeah, it was. And we did try once with the troupe I was in. I did a stand-up act where I had them all stand up and start arguing with each other, because, of course, I had this very political act back then. That did not work. The owners of Stand Up New York at the time were none too pleased. Of course, Russ was pleased.
Yeah.
Because the whole fucking place was... But again, that was me emulating...
Trying to find your
wanting
voice.
to be like Andy Kaufman, wanting to be like George Carlin, wanting to be like Eddie Murphy
But
and
now
Richard Pryor.
you're yourself.
Yeah, I mean, the best description of my stuff now, or at least I would say, is one person once said it's a compelling mixture of Woody Allen and Sam Kinison, something akin to
can see that.
Jewish angst on meth.
But
So I agreed with that, if only because it's very loud, and I give so much of myself.
Right.
Like I'm not trying to. I don't want to sound pretentious. I just give like 100,000 miles an hour and 150 miles an hour. I just yeah. Oh my god, can you believe that guy?
this cunt.
No, but I give like literally like I just like let it go, and I just overshare and let it happen.
When I saw you, and I saw you, like I said earlier, like the stage collapse and you hit the ground, I'm like, this dude's all fucked up now. Like, this show's over already before you
He started
started.
like a pro. Was it a flat
He
back
took it like a
bump?
pro. He got up and he just kept on talking.
Oh yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
the musical theater thing. Because if you drop your hat, you keep dancing
I
because you
was
get kicked in the
amazed.
face.
I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever.
By Betsy the dance captain,
and, and everything that he did, like he probably talked to the crowd for like 10 minutes. I'm saying,
Yeah,
crowd, like
I
6
sat
people
right
at a
next
time.
to you.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
as
I got more comfortable with myself, I got more comfortable just. I will sit right next to you. I'll dip one of your fries in ketchup, even though I'm
Yeah.
allergic to it. As long as
Oh, you poor fuck.
Yeah,
And
but
I
it's-
felt like when I saw you, I'm like,
Really?
this
I'm
is
sorry.
how this guy is all the time. This isn't like an act. Like he's just being himself.
Yeah.
And I'm
but it
more
shouldn't
amazed by
be an
people.
act.
But I'm
What?
It shouldn't be an act.
I'm
No,
amazed
or-
by people.
or
who
it
keep
Maybe
should
the
be
volume, maybe the volume's up a little bit more, but to be authentic,
Yeah.
it's
That's
got
what I
to
like.
be.
That's what
you.
I learned. Like I used to just try to like take that energy in myself, but apply it to this very written thing where I'm telling you my opinion
Right.
and how I feel.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And
or
some of my favorite comedians are the guys who are just themselves and they can talk about anything that's happening in the crowd. And that's how I felt when you were up on stage. I'm like this dude's just being himself, but he's
You
letting
can
it out.
tell. You can tell when someone's being authentic,
yeah.
and you can like maybe the volume's up, maybe it's a little exaggerated, but yeah, I mean there's.
But then I'm a huge fan of like I love some of the Brooklyn comedy right now. There's a guy, Joe Pera, who I think is the best alt, whatever they say, alt comedian or whatever. I've worked with him.
What does that mean?
And
What-
well, that different vibe,
He's like
that
a grunge kind of
just hip, that hip Brooklyn thing. Like
Yeah,
they go outside of the realm of what the construct of what stand up is a lot.
They're unusual.
It
yeah.
started in New York with Marin and the Luna Lounge
And
all those
hipsters,
guys, and
whatever they want to call it. But
hipsters
Joe's
There
not
he
that.
is.
But
There he is.
There's the Rain Man.
There's the Rain Man coming
Yeah.
out.
No, I saw that, and then
He always gets his underwear at Kmart.
but Joe does like
I
this.
got him on Amazon. Actually.
Joe does this
So,
really
I'll
like
deal with
he
people.
stands there and he's in a sweater, and you're like,
You're like
This
leaning
guy-
into like
And this guy just, he starts talking and he's saying something. And at first the audience is like, oh my God,
What the
what's
fuck?
happening?
Poor guy.
Who let this, is this like a Make-A-Wish
What
thing?
did I
Like,
pay for?
you know, what's going on? Yeah,
they-
like
but they
I
see
realize
you
it's
get
a
it.
free show, but it's
It's a
supposed to be a
Make-A-Wish
show.
thing. He's gonna die in about a week.
Right,
Just let me
yeah,
finish.
yeah. And then you realize, oh my God, this guy's a living, breathing genius because they are eating, and including me. Like I was
That was
just
like
like,
Mitch. That was like Mitch.
Mitch
Mitch,
Goldberg,
yeah. Mitch, like for the first 5 minutes, and then when they ever saw Mitch, you'd be like Hedberg. You'd be like, what the fuck?
I love that dude.
But the first time you heard him, you're like, what the fuck
and
is
there's a
this?
few guys out there like that. who
but I
just
think
are
Mitch
so
Hedberg,
great at
it
that.
only took 1 or 2 jokes, and you're like,
But
oh
it's
my
like
God.
quicksand. You realize like,
and he had the
fuck.
bass guy in the back. playing
And
the
Joe
bass.
is the total opposite of me. So my friend Naomi Paragon, who I was bringing up before we went on
Right.
air, who's a writer for that show that premieres tonight. Great news! Please support Naomi.
Plug it.
Her special aired on Comedy Central.
Look
You
at
can
the
see it on
camera.
demand.
But which camera are we on?
He's on that
He's
one.
on that one.
Love you, Naomi. Congratulations.
You look
Love
good.
to you and Jubu, and I look very handsome. And her husband Andy Beckerman, great writer. I'll say one of his tweets later when we
All
talk
right,
about
cool.
Star Trek. But I was on a show, and she would always put together these great lineups where it would be so everybody was like just the different shade of this. And I remember me and Joe met afterwards, and I was like, "Wow, Joe, I really wish I could just. That is amazing. I would love to do an act like that where you just had them and you didn't have to move." And I was like, "Me, I have to let you know."
Right, but you're you.
Yeah, and he
like,
goes, "Oh my God, you were so," and I was so excited by that because, again, I think,
They're
and
breaking the mold.
with my shows too, I just want everybody to be different. I think everybody should be authentic and everybody should be different. And what makes me me, and again, as a cold opener, that's what made me exciting. I think to clubs as a cold opener.
Like I'm a big fan of Stephen Wright.
I've
He's
seen
so
him live. I
just
made my parents
unusual.
take me to
He's-
see him.
He comes out and he's just got an even tone through his whole thing. But
I just put in a skylight. The people that live above me are furious.
I
Like
have,
that's one of my favorite jokes
I
of
have the
all
largest
time.
seashell collection in the world. I leave it scattered on the beaches. Of
Yeah. Like again, like I just bought a cordless extension cord. You know, these are like,
But like Hedberg was awesome. Stephen Wright. Like there's the unusual ones and the ones who are themselves all the time. Those are the guys I really like that can just talk.
and
about
I think
anything
I
at any
have finally found, and I think I'm still getting,
You
I'm
got
still
your
getting
thing.
better. And
Not
I'm
always
always
going to
getting better.
refine it. You're going to be refining
But I
until you
still,
die.
I feel
Is there-
like the last few years I finally figured out kind of, even with Legal Guardian, even
Right.
that album sort of marked the end to me of me getting to a certain place. But then after that, I felt even freer to sort, because that was the first time somebody released an album of mine,
Right.
not me.
Yeah.
You know,
it
when
wasn't
I used
self-released.
when I used to promote at Egypt nightclub back in the day, back
You
in
were
the
16.
Dizzy, 97, 98, 99, 2000.
I got my penis tickled there.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you. Thank you.
Well, of course you did, because the big Greek guys that would stand against the wall on Wednesday nights, I mean, they're
No, he was
cock
black.
tickled every-
I
Well, no,
fingered
no,
a girl
it
there.
would go Greek, black. It would go
I fingered
Greek
a
guy,
girl.
black guy, Greek, and they would just stand against the wall like this.
Chris,
like-
did you finger a girl?
I did. They had that little second level that kind of went up on the backside.
Yeah.
Fingered a girl up there.
Oh, wow. Well, you know
Wow.
what?
This finger
I always
this one.
I always hope
and this
to,
one
you know.
and this one.
I always hope to, but I
Wow.
usually just
And this one.
Yeah, Russ finally saw
Well,
it.
how old was this girl?
That's
She's
no longer
7.
a fingering. That's called an
Wait, are
assault.
you talking? She was from Egypt.
Once
My
I locked
God.
her wheelchair wheels, she wasn't going anywhere.
Well, you guys will love this. Actually, I'll get to this in a second. But with Egypt, just so I don't forget this point, I'd always loved, the hustlers. Like Mark Echo used to sell his stuff when it used to be spelled ECHO. He used
Before
to
the
sell
K.
it out of a van. In front of Shampoo, in front of Egypt, in front of Revolution, in front of Skyland, all those cool places. And then, funnily enough, because I was involved in all the
And they're all
raves
gone.
and a lot of these
Crazy.
places, a lot of these places are
Crazy.
just gone. And even
these-
611 Records, right? They used to
Oh,
have.
fucking shit. I
they used
remember
to-
that
They used
place.
to have now, I used to stand on 4th and South for 6 hours at a time,
remember
handing
that
out
place.
tickets to Shampoo. No internet, no social
Just
media.
talking every person
Just
that come
me,
by.
just making people laugh.
And when you're doing a job like that, you're just gonna entertain yourself.
I
'cause
still-
Oh,
nobody's
you got
talking
to. And of
you.
course,
Yeah.
I had all my best friends
I
working
s-
with me. So all we did was chase tail, smoke dope, hand out
I
free
still
tickets
have
to
a
girls.
611 record stickers on my bass rig, like buried under.
Yeah, and Nigel
other-
Richards is
buried.
still out there. He designs clothing under the 611 monkey and moniker. Sorry, and what you would call it? I used to work for that company's Local 13 that threw all the raves too. So like Boo and Whistle. and bang and all those crazy things because
We're in deep in some of this stuff.
I loved the excitement of promoting it and then being there, and of course you could charge people extra at the door because the place is sold out. I mean, it was a great situation for a young guy.
You're doing raves, comedy shows, like.
Yeah. So the thing was
Anything during the daytime at all?
I gotta be honest. I think it all. But it
so
all,
video games. Does that
Is he a vampire? I think he's a
But,
vampire.
but it all plays into the same thing though. Like, you set like, okay, comedy, raves, all these things where you're getting an immediate dopamine rush. Like, boom! It's this
exciting.
It's excitement of it, and it's like a rush, and it's so cool. And I think a lot of people, again, I keep going back to the parallels, but it's the only frame of reference I have is a lot of people see like musicians or comedians and go, wow, that anybody that's really good at their craft, it looks easy.
Looks effortless.
Whether it's a figure skater, whether it's a comedian, whether it's a musician, but particularly performing arts, they see they only see the end result. They don't see the hours of writing and rewriting and working at your craft.
And the driving and the finding parking.
But the horrible horrible gigs.
Car.
Well, yeah, I've literally lived out of a car. I've
just
literally slept outside.
Had a soul crushing gig this past weekend where I was like, why the fuck am I doing
Yeah, what
it?
am I doing? Yeah, what are you doing, Russ?
He posted pictures. I'm like, where's Bullet? Is he okay?
I was in trend.
Oh man!
Right, and I was like, what?
Like I said, Chris, you probably had to go blood in. You know, if you even drive through
He's
Trenton,
killed
you
a
got to
few
go
hookers.
blood in.
I was wearing gang neutral colors. Like,
Oh, okay, good.
and I can speak enough Spanish for Latin Kings are cool with me.
I just wear a Trenton Thunder jersey if I go there. Hopefully they'll assume
But
I work for the team.
There's so
You're
many
safe.
of these soul crushing gigs that really test like, why are you really doing this? Why the fuck?
And I've
am
had
I-
a lot of those.
But people don't see that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I could do that. That looks easy. That's fun. But they don't see it really tests your fucking resolve because it's not, it's like, and what happens is it's almost like a bad thing. Like you'll get that good gig where it's like, it's just enough to like keep you like on life support and
Always.
keep you going.
And it always comes right when you're like, you're at least
I'm done.
You're at least figuring out
Like,
where the exit is.
Your first show was so good. It's like you're always chasing that dragon.
I
Well,
was,
yeah. I mean,
I
it was.
really like the other Legal Guardian because he sent,
I can't believe that you guys watched it.
Yeah,
he
you
sent me the link today.
I actually had it on my dashboard in my car while I was driving.
Oh,
down the
good.
turnpike. I'm like, this is
Luckily,
sick.
I could be the cause of an accident.
Well, he sent me the link today because I was on my phone for the earlier half of my day, and I watched that, and I watched the new Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
And like, okay, so the whole new thing with the Star Trek.
Okay, cool. So
That's
we're
called a
jumping into-
segue.
So you know I'm a super
Segue.
nerd though.
Watch
from Legal
this.
Guardian,
That's
'cause I
called
talk about
that's
that.
called a segue.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Um,
Let's get into it. I love
But the
Star
whole thing
Trek.
with Star Trek, so CBS is charging money. Wow, God, I look like shit.
Bullet, I'm not gonna lie, it's the shirt, Bullet. It's one of the old shirts, isn't it?
It is an old fat shirt.
Yep.
Yeah, should I just open it up and see my chest hair?
Mm,
Look,
sure.
I
Oh,
had
God.
product in my.
Do you see any hair, Chris?
Yeah, hold on. Let me get my glasses. Oh, Jeez. Wow.
Nipple.
Wow. You know what?
Is that a
Actually,
tattoo?
You know what? Scratch
Like a
the
tattoo
glasses.
nipple.
He's got a tattooed nipple.
No, my God. My prescription is
Okay,
really good.
hold on.
I'm
True
gonna
story.
keep these
True
on.
story. If you look, the ink stops right at the nipple.
It's coming back out again,
So my
guys.
first tattoo was a full sleeve and a chest piece. And when he put this, he draws everything up freehand. He puts the stencil on, and I'm like, well, why does it stop at the nipple? And he laughs. He goes, yeah, I'll have you ask me that question after we start doing a little bit of
nipples?
line.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, I know a chick who has one. Well, I knew her, kind of.
Oh, my God.
But anyway,
My goodness.
Is she still
what were we
alive?
talking about?
Oh, we were talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
Star Trek. Like
So-
I watched it last
Well,
night.
speaking of nipples.
I watched the first. I watched the first episode on my Kodi box, and then I watched the second one on Netflix through a VPN. And I don't consider this piracy because
you have a subscription.
I have a subscription. It's those cunts that.
The language.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend, but it's. I mean, they're the ones that geo-block it. And let's be honest. I'm gonna be honest here.
Can you be honest?
Just be
I'm gonna
honest.
be
You weren't being
TBH,
honest
TBH.
earlier?
I'm sorry.
I was once told never to say to be honest because
Hold my
that
hand.
would imply that you were lying earlier.
I really like that ring.
Thank you. It's the Super Jew combo pack.
It is.
On the camera. I got this in front of shampoo.
Superman
When I was 19, I got this in front of shampoo. There was the silver guy, and he said, and I wanted the Superman ring. He goes,
Here, you know what?
I've never had a.
Put them on camera again.
Here, he said, what I did was I was 19 and I got the Super Jew combo pack and I got it. One, he said that I was the smallest. He said I was the smallest white person who would ever ask for this ring, so he had to cut it in half and then reforge. He had to reforge the ring. And then I got it, so it was a Super Jew combo pack.
I have that same Superman ring.
Yeah, but then I went to music. You know, whenever you went to a gay
I got a
bar.
problem with it.
But the joke was, whenever you went to a gay bar, you had to switch the rings around. So Jews are super. Stop it! You can't spell accessorize without S. So I was 19, wrote that joke. Still
I
have the
could go to
rings.
any party and have fun, so
Yeah.
I don't care.
He can.
But the only thing I wish about the Star of David was that it was
Here comes
embossed.
Rain Man.
No, that it was embossed. So if you punch a motherfucker in the forehead, they got a star.
No, I've always wanted to get that
You know
one.
what I'm
That one's
talking about.
expensive.
Like the knuckle duster.
But that is my goal, actually.
Like-
has always been to have these kind of like the sort of
Like you watched Munich and you got
the
pissed
Flo
off.
Rida versions, you know.
Like you're the kind of Jew that got pissed off when they watched Munich. I'm like, fuck it, I'm taking it back.
Fucking tense. Well, no, that happens. Hey, let me tell you something. Not only does that happen, you know, but post-election, I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch Munich. I'm going to watch fucking
Schindler's List.
Where's
The whole thing.
Which is the one with Daniel Craig and Lee Schreiber in the woods. I'm going to watch that. Defiance.
Oh yeah.
Munich,
yeah.
Defiance, and Glorious. You know, and then I played all the Wolfensteins again. You know, this is true. I traveled back in time and played the first one on a
Did
Commodore.
you play the new one on
64.
PS4?
Nazis were
Oh, the
dying
new ones are
everywhere.
awesome.
Oh, the new
Blood-
one was great on PS4.
Old Blood was amazing.
I never
It was
played
great.
any of
And the
them.
new one comes
You
out
never
next
played
month.
any of
in
them?
Was it
November.
really?
Yeah.
Never
It was just like Doom.
I like it a
You
lot.
ever played Doom?
Yeah, at the time
Oh, with
too.
Nazis.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, and this is true. This is really great. A bunch of Nazis tried to sue the company because they were
racist.
killing. Yeah, they said that it was anti-Nazi. It was like, yeah.
Two things with Nazis real fast. Number one, fuck them. But
Yeah, I love this. That was someone's grandpa who was a Nazi.
It was a killer.
My grandpa liked pastrami. That's it. That's
my
his
grandfather
most-
went over there and kicked their asses. But
Yeah.
What was number 2?
number two, I think, unfortunately, that term has been bastardized. Where if you disagree with somebody's political leanings, you're a Nazi. It's
Oh,
okay
you're
to
not going
punch
to
you.
start this political.
No,
stuff.
no.
Right. Well, yeah. No, you don't want to delve into
what
it.
it does is real Nazis mass murdered people. If I disagree with your political leanings, you're not a Nazi.
Right, no,
You're
no,
an asshole.
I agree, but but the people that I will say this: if they're wearing a shirt, right, with the swastika,
Yeah.
You're an asshole.
that's the only time I get confused where they're like, these fine people are not Nazis, and the guy's like wearing a shirt
Yeah,
that
and he's
says,
got a flag,
"Hello,
and he's
my
got
name is
boots
Ed,
on.
never
and I am a Nazi."
And
we
his head shaved.
the whole thing is like we fought a war over them. How can you?
I just think it's weird because the whole premise of a very successful video game series, right, and every Indiana Jones movie, and really
I love
every
Indiana
movie,
Jones.
Captain
I
America,
love
you name it, right? Like,
Killing
But,
Nazis.
now he's with Hydra.
well, yeah, I
Who's
know
Hydra?
in the comics,
Captain America.
in the comics,
What?
yeah, it turns out he was a
You know what I'm talking about.
Hydra agent
What?
and
Yeah.
he's killed a bunch of
Michael
people.
Michael Bennett's that fucking cunt. But what was Star Trek? So
Do you think there's any Nazis on Star Trek?
I don't know.
No, because
I
I
know
think-
the whole cast took a knee. We'll talk about that later.
But when Star Trek gets to it, like where it's at in the future, like the world's like a good place, right? Like everything's kind of
People have gotten past their petty shit.
everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
It's
that's
supposed
why
to
we're
be.
exploring the other worlds.
The whole entire thing with Star Trek, I watched the first episode on my Cody like you did.
I like the new captain. The what's her name? The chick from
Michelle, yeah.
Don't get too attached to her.
Oh, he's such an asshole.
Well,
she's such an
I
asshole.
I think she's more passing.
It says guest star.
Shut your fucking mouth.
I'm sorry.
I think she's more passing the torch to this young captain.
She's from The Walking Dead.
Is that what they call it in the future?
That's where she's from. She got the short hair now.
Yeah.
Passing the torch? That's what they
yeah.
call it in the future?
Okay, a couple things about.
Well,
Star
yeah, they
Trek.
don't need torches anymore,
Hold on
Russell.
a sec. Russ, has anybody ever ruined a show for you or a movie?
Because this asshole
Because
has.
this fucking asshole does it.
You know,
on a
yeah,
regular.
I'm one of those people that sees things like immediately so no one can.
Yeah. Well,
Like I go at like 9 o'clock.
He
in
just
the
did it
morning.
with It.
he just did it with it like 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
hold on.
I don't know if you know
Hold
this,
on.
but the clown joins the circus.
Right.
Yeah, he
What?
joins the circus.
Hold on.
This is
So-
bullshit.
Hold on.
And he ends up
I gotta
really
call.
happy.
I gotta call a technical foul. You're a football guy. Hold on. If it's been a book for over 30 fucking years,
Yeah, it
you
can't
can't be a fucking asshole and be like, "Hey, you're spoiling it," just because you're illiterate and you don't fucking read.
You should have read it.
All right, you do read. Then you know what? You
Here's-
don't have
here's the thing,
any
Russ.
fucking.
I mean, I read it.
Is the first movie exactly the same as the second movie?
It?
Yeah.
Well, there's gonna be they've
Right,
split it into
the
two.
the two movies you've seen, are they exactly the
Sorry, you
same?
can hold my hand.
Oh, you mean? Oh, yeah, no, it's okay. Wow, there's.
He felt the urge
That
to
dragon,
soft.
is that dragon alive? Oh my god. Am I allergic to dragons?
It's more like a
Khaleesi,
gecko, really. I'm
Khaleesi, am I
Scottish.
allergic to your dragons?
It's more like a gecko. I'm Scottish.
I would bend the knee to you, Khaleesi.
But
It's just these dragon scales. I get the itchy eyes.
I gotta be honest. I
Sorry.
talk it up like it's a dragon, but it's more like a salamander.
Yeah, but he has the urge to
I got pissed
fucking-
stains
It's
on
not
my-
as intimidating.
If
It's not. I got pissed
I'm
stains on my
so
nuts.
afraid.
If you're gonna watch something, this dude has somehow watched it prior.
So wait, do you mean is the new It different than the one that was on ABC when we were kids?
Yeah, they're not even
Completely.
Yeah, they're completely
Yeah,
different.
he felt the urge to tell me parts of the movie. He's like,
No.
"Well, it's a remake."
Here's
I'm like,
what
no,
here's
it's
what I
not a
felt
remake.
the urge to tell him.
Different.
Okay. Here's what I felt the
Didn't he
urge
say
to tell
something?
him.
Hold on. Didn't he say something about the kid's arm getting ripped off?
Hold
Yeah,
on.
right at the beginning.
Hold
Right at
on.
the beginning.
Hold on.
Asshole.
Here's what I told.
And you know,
fuck-
Russ, I'm sorry you have to see this right now.
Okay, we're
No,
gonna
it's
have to
okay.
work.
I'm here. I was telling Todd
You're
earlier.
gonna have to
in the
facilitate
comedy
this.
world, I'm very much a moderator. And
That's right. He
So
can handle this.
I'm Barack
Look,
Russell. You tell me your
look,
problems. I'll get everybody on the
Basically,
same page.
I'm gonna break it down in terms that you would understand. He's middling, and I feel he ripped something off of me. Okay. Here we go. All I said to fuckface over here was, I really liked it. Although, since I'm a father of a young child now, I said I don't like to see violence of little kids. It fucked me up. I said I don't like the first 10 minutes. Fuckhead over here's like, hey, you fucking ruined it.
I did not go.
He did, like Chewbacca.
Oh wow! So you were just like.
He's like, I wear pajamas and wrestle with God.
And first of all, for the record, Russ, just so
I mean,
you
the
know,
clown kills
he and I
kids,
met
though,
at
like,
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, but
What?
did he
and-
not? Did he
and I
not tell
met
you
at
that?
jiu-jitsu? And he's
Yeah.
alwaing talking about like it's gay.
No,
Yeah, no, I see your hands all over each
I
other.
don't care.
This is
I'm-
not the
I'm
time.
pushing his
No
hand.
grappling at the table. young man.
I pushed his hand off of me.
no, I just like fucking with him because he gets all mad, and we can talk about that later. But
No, I mean, I
He
guess
acts
it's not
as
really a
if-
spoiler because the clown kills kids. I mean,
it's
that's
not
I
a
know
spoiler.
that. I know
Correct.
that.
We have a ruling, a third party ruling.
But he tells me how stressful the first 10 minutes are.
And
He's very specific.
You know what they
You-
don't
hold
tell
on,
you about
he did
Friday
say-
the 13th is that the food at that camp was actually really good. Spoiler alert!
You would understand.
he said that the kid's arm got ripped off.
Yeah.
This is the kind
That's
of.
specific.
That
though.
is very specific.
I'll break this down into simplistic terms that you and I would understand.
The
best.
kid's arm got
Well, if
ripped
you
off.
haven't read the book, I mean, that's a very specific.
Hold on.
He's never read any books. He does all audible shit.
I read tons of books.
What's the last
asshole.
book you read?
No. So you're saying between truck stops where you use a glory hole slope and you listen to audiobooks? Every truck driver does that. There's no shame in it. Oh, you don't drive a truck. I'm so sorry. But I do love the iron skillet. And as it
You're an
says-
arm's length. You can't say
No,
these kind of
Hey,
things.
Where's the ring to
No,
lead the
Chris,
den?
you promised me that I would come out of this part of Pennsylvania alive.
Yes.
I didn't even know they let parts of Jews like me into this part
That's
of
what he
Pennsylvania.
said when he
Only
walked
the
through my
Sesame
house.
Place.
Right.
I thought they only let Jews
He
go to Sesame
walked
Place.
into the house, right? And I didn't shut the door behind him. You're not shutting the door behind you?
Right? No,
I said, what is
I
this,
mean,
Canada? What is this? Justin Trudeau, my God, you are handsome in person.
What was I saying? I forgot what I was
You're
saying.
talking about
You
how
were
you're
mad
How you
that-
ruin
You were
movies.
mad that you told him that a clown kills kids and
Yeah, right. Right, exactly. It's the fucking premise of the movie. But no, it was
You have-
something else. I can,
you have
yeah,
all these stories
okay.
here. I
So
would assume
this
you
is the
read
kind of
them.
guy that he is.
Good.
He's the kind of guy.
You're too close.
You are
I'm
too
sorry.
close. You are too
I'll put my
close.
headphones on.
Have I been too close?
No,
Because
you're
I know
not.
I do
You're
that.
fine.
This is the kind of
I'm an old-
guy.
Oh, look, the tone change.
Yeah, right. This is the kind of guy that Chris is. He'll be like, "Oh, okay, Kev. You know, you're dealing with some depression issues and some anxiety.
Yeah, he has.
Just don't be sad.
That's what I say to him. What was the one I sent you the other day?
Don't be sad.
Don't be sad."
He was having an anxious breakdown a couple weeks ago, and I sent him a message.
Do you
I'm
really
like,
want me to be honest with you? Do you want me to be honest?
Hey, just be honest.
So during the past 2 weeks, okay, I have been dealing with some depression issues.
I had no idea.
Is it when you look in the mirror?
All the time. I don't even look in a mirror. I'm like a Jew in mourning. I cover them.
You covered the, I'm in a constant state of shiver. Sit Shiva. I've always.
Well, sit Shiva every
I
day.
am Shiva. I am
Here's
the
the thing,
human.
like
embodiment.
all of my anxieties and whatnot and depression issues are more like peculiarities until you add stress, and that's the volume, and now they turn up.
That's funny, and that I feel that way. That's a very good way of
Like,
describing it. I'm going to remember that.
Here's an example, Russ.
Because I have all of that.
And we did the fights at the Sands Casino last year, right?
Okay.
He pulls up to the building, and what do? He calls me up. He's like, "Where are you at?" I said, "I'm up on the 5th floor." I said, "Come on up." I can't come up. You have to come down and get me. I'm like, "What?"
You understand?
Yeah. So I'm like, "No, just come on up."
Were you-
Right? Like, yeah,
you
I
just
here's
were
the
over-
reason.
were you overwhelmed?
Here's the reason. I've never been to that building. I can't visualize it. I can't understand what the building's going to
Doesn't know
look
where the
like.
escape routes are.
I don't know what it's going to smell like. I don't know what it's going to sound like. I don't like that.
You know what? It's funny because if I know I'm going to like a new place, sometimes.
You map it out.
Well, sometimes the promoter, I'll be like, I have to preface them. Well, I have to be like, hey, listen, I'm about to ask you a bunch of questions.
Here's my checklist.
Hey, listen, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. You know, and I'll ask them, okay, where do I park? Okay, then where do I go?
You
Okay,
understand.
what's going to happen? Okay, do I get where do I go to the bar to get a drink? Do I wait for the car? Like, I asked like 16 questions
But
because
that makes sense.
I know, but I'm trying to avoid, basically because that kept happening to me
But let me ask you this,
as I
Russ.
started to do podcasts and gigs.
Is that partly because you're going to New York and it's not as simple just to I'm just going to pull up
Here's the thing.
and get
Right. Well, yeah, and even when I lived in LA, I mean,
Here's
I was
something-
traveling all to these different
something you have to
places, and
understand.
nowadays I travel all
If
the time.
I'm going somewhere and performing, I don't feel that that's really. I feel like I'm putting on some kind of an affect or an armor or a mask where, I don't feel that I'm exposed. But if I'm given the chance, like I get my groceries delivered because I just can't deal with people.
Oh,
I
wow.
can't.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He's come to my house every Wednesday or Thursday for 6 years.
Ding dong.
Won't just walk in the house.
Well,
And
why
he
is
rings the fucking doorbell every week. I'm like, you're fucking making my dog
Yeah,
crazy.
but on sitcoms, Buddy Lembeck still always rang the bell, and I didn't understand. I'm like, but Buddy, you're basically
But
leaving.
my whole thing is that, like, here's my problem. I have
Skippy too on Facts of Life, but that's because
That's true.
I mean, not Facts of Life, Family Ties. Sorry, go ahead.
At this point, I have anxiety about anxiety because I feel like I shouldn't be getting this level of anxiety yet. I'm getting January anxiety in near October.
What's January anxiety?
Well, okay, so October is you've got Halloween. I've got all the movies
You
I like
love
to watch.
Halloween.
Can I finish? I'm like Ross Perot.
Well, you have big plans. If you love something, see, like for
But-
the Eagles, like I can get anxious just about
but
getting
you're-
myself ready to watch the Eagles game because I have to have everything
In place.
a certain way.
But like I
Now
like
that I don't have
I
my
like I
friends
like
so
all
much.
the horror movies. I like going to I just like the season. I like going to Oktoberfest and just seeing the things and all like that. But November is my favorite holiday is Thanksgiving, because I'm around family, and I realize like at 15 and 16 and 20, they don't get me, so they don't love me. Now I'm just like, okay, they love me, they don't get me, but whatever.
So let me ask you a quick question. So these are things that you love.
Yes.
Why do you get anxiety?
Well, I'm
about
going to
it?
tell you.
I have a point to add to that because
But
I have a
it's
tough
nice to
time
hear
But what I mean
somebody
is,
else
in
that.
October there's a lot of things to look forward to. In November there's things to look forward to. In December there's things to look forward to. But in January and February
it's
and
all
March,
gone.
it's gone. And I'm getting that level of anxiety now, and I'm like,
I get
why am I
that.
getting that anxiety now?
It's like postpartum depression.
Well,
basically.
anxiety, a lot of
I've
stress.
had to lock up my guns.
Well, I don't have that problem.
Halloween's over?
You know what though? I do have a Nerf blaster that is automatic and it goes and
get
it'll
the
like
same
lots
feeling.
of darts.
The worst thing to happen to me was the fact that Chris Cornell hung himself with a carabiner, because I'm like, I've got that.
A carabiner?
Yeah, he hooked.
Wow, that is one of the darkest sentences I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Most people react to
I had
that
to
like,
throw mine out.
"Oh, audio slave." You're
I-
like, "Oh, I have one of
I had to
those.
throw that out.
It's just right over here."
Here's the thing, like the way that my brain works is that, and you know this, being a performer, I'm sure, is that those who live in the moment are subject to it, and yeah, you have those highs of, oh my God, that's great, but I have really low lows, and if you dip down too far and you're in that moment and I can't see the escape route to get out of it, I might do something really bad.
Do you-
Well,
like that
this
as
is
well?
this is what I would say, and I feel like
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I know what you mean because this is what I would say because I've been trying to combat it lately. Like yesterday morning, I woke up for no reason. I had an anxiety attack because I had nothing to be anxious
Just
about.
starting out with an anxiety
It just
attack.
because I was stressed out about things that hadn't happened yet.
He doesn't get it.
Well, it's
And I'm glad he doesn't.
a lot of times anxiety and stress is about things that either haven't happened yet or about trying to control things that you cannot control.
Right.
So, one, I would say to you this, that void in January, February, because I agree with you, there is sort of all this
It's a
excitement.
drop off.
But this is what you do. You combat that by saying, hey, you know what? For these months, I'm going to play a bit, like you choose something to be your activity,
I'm
whether
gonna
it's
go
a
on
video
vacation.
game. Well,
I'll go with you.
okay.
Would you really?
Yeah.
But that's
Would
a
you be
good...
allowed?
I don't know, but I'll go.
Absolutely not.
Todd's gonna go too, and Russ is coming
Let me
with
ask
us.
you, does the Poconos count as a vacation? They've got
I love
an
the
indoor
mountains.
water park, even though they've got perfectly
I
good
love
water
the
there.
mountains.
Um,
I love the mountains.
It's Safari Sam's. I hope you like colitis and certain forms of hepatitis because the pools. I would never go. Who would ever go to that?
No,
No,
I've never
no,
gone to
no,
public
right.
I've gone to the Great Wolf.
Give up.
I've gone to the Great Wolf Lodge 3 or 4 times up
He
there.
has. And
Yeah,
he's
no,
got
my
hepatitis.
kid. Listen, I know I'm gonna have to go one day. I know.
Not me.
No choice.
No fucking way. I would wear socks, fucking and I would wear water shoes
So
and saran wrap
No, no,
around
but this
them.
is
I like Russ's thought process. Like, find something else to look forward to.
Well, no,
I
no,
am.
but you have to find ways to control it too. One of the things that I've been doing lately, and again,
it sounds like you have good control of it
I'm starting
At the
to.
moment.
at the moment.
Starting to have good control of it, but this is what I do, and this is also with my kids too, so I don't get overwhelmed because I really have to be like two people during the day. I have to be Russ, but I also have to be Rus
Dad.
Gutin, producing the show and being on the show.
We have the same fucking. Our sons have the same name. How weird is that?
Yeah, no, Rocco is amazing.
Do you think
Well, no,
every guy
like
with
Wolf of
anxiety
Wall
has a
Street.
kid
Those are
named
our two
Rocco?
security guards,
Right?
Rocco and Rocco. I stood
Well,
up in the theater.
I figured like with the name Rocco, he's either gonna be like, "Holy shit, Rocco's coming here," or it's gonna be like, "Hey,
It's Rocco! Glitter Bob!
I gotta be honest,
Well, this
it's-
is funny. My son's
it's
name
leaning
is,
towards
my son's
Glitter
name
Bob.
is Rocco Giovanni.
It is
Yeah,
Rocco
my-
Giovanni."
Rocco Giovanni. No, your son's name's not Rocco
You stop
Giovanni,
it.
is it?
You
really?
stop it right now, both of you.
Swear
Really?
to
Swear to
God.
God, that's
Get the
amazing.
fuck outta here.
Ah,
Get
man.
the fuck
Is
out
your
of
son's
here.
name Rocco
It's
Giovanni?
Rocco Giovanni because my
Give me a
wife-
goddamn
Shit, that's a large man.
If you guys
What?
throw out the same last name,
Holy
is
shit, I can't
There
stand
we
it.
go.
Bullet's
And
kid's
everybody
last
who
name
knows
is
who does
Gutin
physical
too.
contact says, "Oh no, please don't." Oh
Is your
God.
son's really named Rocco
Chris.
Giovanni?
Chris, you gotta be honest.
Me?
The whole
No.
January thing sounds exactly like your
When's your son born?
advice, which is
He was
dude, stop
born
worrying about it.
September
Worry about something
13th,
else.
You have to think about that.
2000 and...
Hang on a second.
October 8th.
Bullet, is your kid's last name Gutin?
No.
Not mine.
Well, you'll love this. Well, then you're going to really love this. I have a joke about that because my son's name is Rocco Giovanni.
Yes,
and a lot
swear
of
to God.
And a lot of the
He
comedians...
swears.
And one of my favorite comedians who I ever worked with who passed away way too young, his name was Angelo Bowers. I
Sorry
loved
for that.
Angelo. And whatchamacallit, he goes,
Holy shit.
him
that's
and Matty
weird.
Goldberg, Matty Goldberg's still alive. He has a great book called Brain Humor that everybody should read. Anyway, he said, it sounds like a porn name. It sounds Rocco Giovanni.
That
It
is
sounds like a porn name. And it was like, and I was like, oh, okay, it kind of does. You're watching, RedTube or whatever people watch, and it's
See
like,
what I got written up on the board? Up
yeah, oh, that Rocco
Rocco.
Giovanni, yeah, Rocco.
I just watched the Rocco Netflix special.
Oh yeah,
We'll come back to that in a
yeah.
second.
And he got, Rocco Giovanni really put the spurs to her.
It's my son right there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I can't believe there's another Rocco Giovanni because my wife's
I swear to God.
grandfather's name was John or Giovanni. So, and
not
Rocco, my wife suggested, but of course, Philly sports is my thing. So I was
Well,
like,
my whole
yes.
thing
Hard
is
yes.
that see,
I'll
like
take it.
I wasn't there for any of those parts. That's a long story. But no, Rocco Giovanni, and
No, it's a great name.
that's what I do now to combat.
You're
those
talking about
things.
where he was saying earlier, two personalities.
It's like,
Well,
but,
it's not even.
but
well,
that's
I
what
wasn't-
always
that's
attracted
not,
me.
That's not even what I was saying. I
Two
was saying
different
this.
characters that you
I was
have
saying
to
this
portray.
because my anxiety attacks can be brought on, like kind of what you said, where
Oh, yeah.
it's stress,
Stress.
but then it's
Turns
like
the
the
volume
volume. To avoid that, I was a stage manager a lot working in the theater too, and of course I've ended up being this showrunner, this penultimate showrunner in the comedy world too. What I do is I like presetting and resetting that helps me get control over the
Show
situation.
him that. That has nothing to do with the conversation.
There's nothing to do with the conversation.
Just show
thank
me
you.
some person's
Mike,
vagina.
thank you
Put it
so
away.
much. Congratulations.
Lovely vagina.
And oh wow,
Put it away.
is it spring already? And
That's a 6-string bass guitar.
All right, put it
no,
away.
and so,
sorry.
but what I would say, the way I've been combating it
Lost
is
out,
by
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to preset things. Same thing with the Eagles game. Something I love that ends up
You
sometimes
look forward to it.
stressing me out. What I make sure is everything is sort of done, everything's set, everything's where it needs to be. But the same thing for my son. Like I make sure that like a snack is preset, water is preset. All these, anything I could do to try to sort of
Control it.
preempt
But you're trying to, it's a control
things.
thing.
Yeah, but also preempt moments where I could get overwhelmed. So even with the looking forward to the January thing, this is what I was, and the fact that things that you look forward to stress you out. I would say presetting is a way to take that anxiety but use it to your advantage. Be your own stage manager. So just like whenever I did a show, if somebody's drinking a show on stage, now forget Virginia Woolf, they drink the whole time. That's
Yeah,
the worst
right.
stage manager gig in the world because you got to mark the bottles. But anyway, if a character's drinking on stage, after they're done that night, everything has to sort of be put back in the exact spot where that actor's going to reach for it. I've even been in plays where I'm in the play and I'm the stage manager.
That's
so
horrible.
So your anxiety helped you do that job.
it did. It actually. So that's what I'm saying.
My
It used-
anxiety's never helped.
but it's only in the last few years where I've learned to sort of channel it because of my kids and
Right, you
say,
figured it out.
how am I gonna use this? Basically, you have to learn how to use it to your advantage as opposed to your disadvantage. Same thing with yesterday. When I woke up, there was literally no reason for me to have woke up upset. I had the world
Came
on
out
a
of the gates anxious.
world on a string that day. I had so much to do.
Yeah.
You know, even though the show is still, like I said, it's growing and it's getting there. You know, I love the fight. I love the battle of it. I love structuring. I love that I have a house now. I can really structure my day around my office, and then I can go and play Destiny 2, which is the game that I'm really
the
into.
servers suck.
Well, I think that'll work itself out. They've been doing the updates.
PS4 or Xbox?
PS4.
I'll get you
Of course.
one.
He
Yeah, so
just got a PS4.
So
He's acting like a.
well, I cannot
I'm a
live without my
gamer.
PS4. But again,
He's been an
my-
Xbox guy for years.
my PS4
I still am. I'm bi.
you know, my PS4.
He is
but
fine.
even watching, watching things, researching things, stuff like that. Music,
Don't
playing
hit me.
music.
I love where Russ is going.
I'm glad
with
that
this
you have
stuff.
the outlet of play, playing the drums is something that
I'm a
I
bass
play
player.
a
Bass
few
player.
other instruments,
Any
but
player.
I've always
What do
played.
you play?
I play drums, but I have like
Bass
just
player.
I just sort of make a practice kit out of my couch and a frisbee and stuff because I don't have a drum set in this house or whatever. I want to get one of those digital sets, so I'm saving up for one of those things that you can
The
also
electronic
output.
ones.
Yeah. But it's still great because I've been playing since I was in elementary school, and even my wife hadn't seen me play. She knew that I would play over at my co-host, one of my best friends, Clark, who I did.
Well, bass
Allergic to
players and
gluten.
drummers. I mean, they're gonna.
Yeah, and
gonna
Clark
lock
played
in.
guitar, whatever. So but that's something lately. I would say that in the last few years, when that came back into my life as sort of an everyday practice,
It's a release for you.
those again, that's something I control. I can hit if I'm feeling anxious. I
Well,
can take it, and I can.
There's an immediacy to it.
So
There is.
The anxiety is because you don't feel control in certain situations.
No, my anxiety.
You seem to have anxiety about things that
Everything.
haven't happened yet.
No, I have anxiety about everything.
Oh, okay, because it feels like you're almost anxious about what's going to happen. How's it going to happen?
My anxiety. My anxiety has, and when you really.
At first I was doing this for free, but now it's $60.
Right? That's all right. I've paid $60 an hour for a lot of things.
All Jews get a doctorate, right, when they leave the womb.
But I think, in all honesty, if I'm really going in a roundabout way, I think that's what always has kind of attracted me to superheroes and comics and things, where you have the dual identity. And it's like, this guy there's that hard line, and there's the separation. But lately, as my son gets older, because he doesn't live with me full time,
They're starting to blend.
they're blurring in there. And I think for me, there's kind of been a struggle of like, all right, there's got to be this give and take, this push and pull.
The person that can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
The person, and I don't know, I don't know your life, I don't know your struggle.
Hold my hand.
I don't know your
Nah, I'm just
story. But what I will say is this: the person you are with your son,
That's my best version.
that's who you are.
Yeah.
That's what I learned.
That's why I aspire
Because
to.
I listen, I spun out of control a few times,
So
especially after I
aspire to
had
be.
my son. and also, when we had my son, we moved back east 6 months after my son was born. My son came along at a time when I finally had LA by the balls. I had been
You
there.
gave it all
I
up.
had been there seven years. I had done movies. I had done this. I'd clawed my way to the
Yeah.
middle. And
This is gonna
The
sound
lower
really.
middle.
This is gonna sound really fucked up. This is gonna sound really fucked up. But everybody in this room has had kids, and it's the only way that I can explain it. Is that like, you know, like that saying, like, be the person that like. Okay.
be the person you want to see in the world, or be the
person that my kid sees, because my kid doesn't see the asshole at work or the fuck up or the whatever.
Yeah,
like,
you're the hero.
The first year that my kid was born, I was like terrified. I felt like a guy that lied on a job application. Was like, they gave me the job. Like, I don't know what
That's
the
so
fuck
funny.
I'm doing, right? But now it's like, fuck. I
So
see
you're
that.
actually a good dad.
No, I'm.
No, you are.
You're- I'll put you over.
Don't put him over.
Don't put me over.
All right, I'm
don't
not
don't
gonna
put
put you
anybody over. You might knock over one
No,
of these
my
nice
whole, like
decorations.
my brother is a good
So
dad.
nice.
My brother is a good dad. You're a good dad.
It's like a 15, 20-second delay.
I'm
Oh, okay.
trying to be one, but I think like my whole thing is like I don't feel that struggle of like, well, I want to try to aspire to do this, because for me my goals as a musician are just, I'm not competitive, and you know this, is just to progress and be a better musician. And I've always said the three things that have always taken me out of my anxiety besides drugs and alcohol,
Kid.
Proust. Sorry.
right, have been things that I'm doing where I'm completely in the moment, where
Fleshlight.
I'm doing music. No, not that, because then
That
I'm,
was a quick ad.
nah,
for
yeah, it
Fleshlight.
was a good one. But no, being with my kid, being on my bike, riding on my bike, and being with my son, because I'm completely in that moment. And the same thing, I'm sure,
That's
is,
what you need, is more in the moment activities in your life.
But
Yeah.
but what I'm gonna say, what I'm telling you is,
That's my shoulder.
I think I
Don't bite
struggled. I struggled with, you know, what used to make me mad. I was like, but when I'm taking care of them, shouldn't I be, you know, am I this kid's dad, or am I Rus Gutin, you know, or blah blah. And then I realized I was
It's all
like,
the same.
well, you can't be one without the other, you dumb bastard.
Yeah, one
and
feeds
one
the other.
and one doesn't. The fact that you have pulled back to be responsible to this situation is what makes you a human being. And stand-up comedians, I don't know if you know this, Russell, from being around them for so long.
They're fucked up.
Some of them are actually human beings.
Yeah.
No, but all of us, all comedians have, and it's
It comes
funny
from
that
a
you
place
said
of pain.
superheroes. I was really sick as a kid too, so that's another reason why I'm so obsessed about superheroes and Star Wars, but the duality of it all, and I always had emotional difficulties. I was sick when I was a kid. My house burnt down when I was a kid.
Did
So-
we just become best friends?
well, yes.
Did that just happen?
Sure, sure. And but
What's
one
your
of the
superhero name?
things, what's my superhero name? Rus Gutin.
No, that's your alter ego.
Papa Russ.
What's
You know, it's been Rus fucking Gutin or Uncle Russ, and then Papa Russ. I mean, and then I wrote a musical called Gangsta Pella,
all right?
where I was Russ Double Time Gutin, and we were the world's first.
We gotta
gangsta
come up
rap
with We
acapella
gotta
group.
come up with a good name.
We're
for
gonna
him.
get a good name for him, but I'm really loving where Russ is going with this, because Russ apparently has been in the trenches just like you have
You
for
have.
the longest time.
Well, and also, my wife has a master's in clinical psychology, so it's one of those things where
Hold on.
Does she have any?
understand
Hold on.
it.
Does she have any friends with clinical psychology degrees that can hook up?
Well,
a
the
bullet?
best was when she brought home a sheet one day for me to fill out.
Does she
as
ever
a
try?
subject.
Yes.
True story.
Try to fucking.
True story. Her teacher was like, "This person may be in distress," you know, like,
That's my
I
husband.
wasn't. She's like, "This is your
I was told-
your spouse."
I was told that I was a sociopath.
Yeah, well, I'm not to that level, but I'm definitely.
I am.
I'm definitely the, you know. If you ask me a question, I'm going to give you the answer, and no one wants me to. Like, here's the problem, is why did you ask me anything? Because I'm going to tell you my whole life story by accident.
And part of the way our friendship works is I'm the exact opposite of him.
My best friend Jesse, since I'm 7 years
Let me tell
old,
you
what
about
up,
this guy.
Jesse?
If
is-
something's happening, I'm like, okay.
He's very
Whatever.
quiet. He's very stoic. He's very you know,
Someone
more emotionally.
Someone asked me about this guy recently. They're like, how the fuck, like, you guys are so different. I'm like, let me just encapsulate Christopher here in a sentence. And this is not bad. I'm not saying this is bad. But Chris
Sounds
is
like it's gonna be bad.
no, it's not. Chris is a guy that's very competitive with other people. and I'm sure himself too, but he's very competitive with other people. Like, his first go-to was like,
Go-to for what reason?
he was like, my buddy's a better musician than you. Great.
Just to get him right.
I don't care. But he saw it was a dead issue. But, like, he can never, or rarely, I should say, admit that he's wrong.
It's like posted the selfie
Well, no,
picture
but
of
you
me
know,
the other
this
day.
is. I have to say, if Jesse
He's
will
very
see this,
alpha.
this is very me and Jesse. Jesse's bigger than me, obviously. It
He's-
always was. But I'm all emotion,
My,
and he's
very
grit, you know.
alpha. Like, his
Well, you an
nep-
athlete, right? Too, obviously.
Well, he
Yeah,
still
I play
is.
sports. I still
But
play
Jesse
sports.
was a swimmer forever.
His nephew was like, I did this at the gym, and Chris is like, I could do like 10 times that. Where like,
No,
my whole-
he came to the house and said, "Hey, Uncle Chris, I deadlifted 315." I'm like,
My
"I'd
whole
warm
thing
up
is
with
this.
that."
Yeah, it's so
But there was
funny.
no
It really
reason to
is
say.
just like- it
Bullet's
is.
right.
male-
Bullet's right there.
But it is
Oh, yeah.
just like Russ and
Alpha
Jesse.
male is too much pressure. I'd rather be a theta male. I'm right in the middle. I'm right in the
Oh,
middle.
is that what that's called? I would say I'm right in the middle.
Theta. What you got? Well, omega
Alpha,
would
beta,
be the
gamma,
end.
delta,
Theta would be
epsilon,
the
theta, eta,
everything
theta,
in the
iota,
middle.
kappa, lambda, mu,
Rain
nu,
Man
xicron,
just came
omicron,
out.
pi, rho, sigma, what's up?
Theta male. Well, I just found out that my generation, the generation before
how
the
old are you?
millennials and after, I'm 38. So after, I don't look 38. Put that
I'm
camera
41.
on.
Hold on,
I'm 41.
it's on you.
But
I don't look 38.
do you think I look 41?
Let's look at that again.
No,
You're an
I
arm's
would,
length.
no, I would,
51.
no, I would say 30s like me. You
How
guys,
about
you guys
me,
all
Russ?
look like you're.
Russ, what do you think I am?
He's old as shit.
No, because of the jujitsu and all that stuff. There's no telling. You could be 150. I don't trust any of you.
Well, throw out a number. Throw out a
47.
No, I would say 48.
47.
Yeah. Okay.
48? Fuck you, Russ. Who invited this asshole over?
You know, but you know why I said 48? Did you hear it?
So
You know why I said
come
48?
on.
Because you have really upstanding, like, looking children who all have fucking soccer uniforms and shit. I was like, well, that
feel
guy's
like
older than me because he's figured out how to
Here's the
do
thing.
this. I just went to my first soccer game the other day and had to prevent myself from having an allergy and anxiety attack at the same
I
time.
feel like a jerk off whenever I come here because you got like a big boy house. It's got multiple bedrooms. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment.
But okay, but I will tell you this.
That's
you know,
okay, though.
You want to know something? Legal Guardian Volume 2, like I said, it's growing and evolving. When I started writing it, it was after I recorded Legal Guardian. And when we did Legal Guardian, we had just Rocco.
You're a different guy.
And
now.
we were basically, this is true, the night after I recorded it, I finally had a night off. So we went to eat sushi at our favorite place
I can't
on...
fucking believe this.
on-
Draco Giovanni. That's
yeah,
fucking-
no, it's amazing. I've never...
It's
I've
still
met other
fucking me
Roccos,
up.
but most of the other Roccos I've met have been like, yeah, but it's Rocco, you know. What
no,
do you
he's
want?
more like
You want a pound of American? You want a thin slice? You
he
know?
like paints his
So,
nails. He's like he's gonna be
Well,
special.
the thing about my son too is that me and my wife, this is one of my bits from Legal Guardian, but of course we expected him to come out like looking like a Puerto Rican kid, you know, the way we look.
Yeah.
But of course he comes out blonde hair, blue eyed,
So same with my
Aryan
son.
master race. Yeah,
What the fuck?
it's crazy. And
I'm gonna show
oh
you
wait,
pictures.
but I was
We
telling
already
you.
saw a picture.
Wait, but
You
what,
get
what
shirts
was
Well,
I
black
telling
and
you?
white asshole.
But what was I telling you? Oh, well, when we had Rocco, when I did Legal Guardian, I had a night off, and Dara and I actually went out for sushi.
What's your wife's name? Dara.
Dara
Okay.
DeVito, and she's Dara DeVito Gutin, but we've never actually legally
She
changed
any
it.
relation to?
No, but her dad was a great soccer player, baseball player, and
Very
all this
similar to
stuff.
Danny, though.
She was a
Yes.
great athlete as a kid.
Clarinet. I
Oh,
figured you'd
wow.
appreciate that.
Yeah, well, of course, my kids want to sing and play the drums. And I'm like, oh no, they've taken the wrong thing from me. It was supposed to be that I'm a good driver. And but with Rocco, right? We were having dinner. And we said, you
But
know
drive a
what?
Ford Focus too.
No, I do. Yeah, that is amazing. Really.
I'm the Gentile version of you.
Yeah, but when I got the Ford Focus, I only had the one kid.
Hello, Ying. Hello, Yang.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when I got the Ford Focus, I only had one kid. It was perfect. But then I had the two kids. It was like, we are not going to fit in here because each one of us have a lot of accessories.
I got the hatchback.
Well, especially my 2-year-old. I mean,
If Russ
she's
takes
like a
his shirt
vacuum
off,
cleaner.
he's
She
got
has a lot of
dragon
attachments.
tattoo on the other side.
But this is what I was.
I think you got
I
manicured
think
hair,
you should just get it. My hair? Oh yeah, my hair.
No, the body hair.
Oh yeah, no. I shave all my body hair so I don't sweat. 'Cause that's one of the things.
See, I did the optical inch though, and I got to be honest.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
Okay.
The what?
Like to get the extra inch of dick neck.
Dick.
You never did that? You never did that? To shave like the pubes
Oh,
to get the extra
I
inch?
just did it to avoid humidity because that's supposed to make you get bigger.
I did it because it's Scottish, so I figured...
Listen. My whole life is about avoiding humidity. I would say
Yeah.
90% of my anxiety is based on avoiding heat because my wife knows if it's too hot, I will just
I like
lose
the
it.
cold.
But don't you have?
Yeah, I prefer the cold.
Don't you have a thing with like robots and a bunch
Yeah,
of
yeah.
other
Oh, I'll
stuff?
get into all that if you like, but I just wanted to say this about
Yeah, let's
Rocco.
heal
We
you
had the-
first.
We had the one kid, right, and so we even had had dinner. We're like, you know what? Let's raise one Supreme Court justice and be done with it. Okay,
Right?
Shake on it, you know. And of course,
You
we
spin on
went
the hand
home.
first?
Oh, yeah, of course.
You always got
We
to.
went home, we did it, and next thing you know, here comes Sophia, and we were in the one-bedroom apartment.
Wait a second. Did you just say Sophia?
That's my daughter's name.
Holy shit.
That's his
This
kid.
is
That's his kid's name, and he hasn't had yet.
No.
I thought you were gonna say Todd's like my middle name.
I gotta
is
be
Todd, Sophia.
I only
Coming
shoot on.
at you.
No Sophia's for me. I only shoot on bellies or backs.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
no, and usually me too. You know, I'm the man at that. I have great control.
Right.
Great mental focus.
Apparently
you know, when somebody
not.
says they have pitch control, I got pitch control. When it comes, when it comes to pull and pray, I'm accurate. I'm on top of things. Like
What'd you call it? Pulling what?
Pull and pray.
Pull and pray.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I
pull
picked
and
up.
pray.
I thought it was like pull and pray, like
No,
killing.
Oh no. You pull
and you pray.
evacuate,
Ah.
and then
all
you
right.
say, hopefully none of the pre-evacuation found its way
They all died, hopefully.
to Eggland's best. So we said, let's have one kid. You know, next thing you know, of course, here comes Sophia. And a lot of my worst years of anxiety, just so you know, were when we were expecting Sophia and when
my
Sophia
God.
came along, because it's in the new version of Legal Garden Volume 2, and the video that I sent you is still so early on that it's actually changed
Right.
because now we have a house.
That's from years ago.
Well, about 2 years ago is when I
Okay.
started working on that.
Sure.
So again, it's evolved, that part of the act, but I had a whole thing about, it still ends the same way, but about living in the one-bedroom apartment and about, we sleep on a mattress behind a bookcase like a couple of fucking gypsy drifters, my wife, because
Right.
the bedroom my son lived in,
Yeah.
and then my daughter was in a pack and play at the foot of our bed behind the bookcase.
Yeah.
So what I would say to you is this: you can't put that doesn't form, like, obviously your self-worth cannot be determined by
No,
one-bedroom
I
apartment.
joke with that, but
Right, but
my
you're-
self-worth with my son will be that I will always have a constant communication with him.
Well, yeah,
Like this
and you're gonna get
motherfucker.
a better. Listen, like
Let
I
me
said,
tell you
you're
about
in that
this guy.
one-bedroom apartment now. Wait till you have a house, and then he's gonna have his own.
I'm
room.
never gonna have a house.
Okay, or
Never.
you'll have a townhouse, maybe.
Yeah, well,
Maybe you'll move up
this
to townhouse.
fucking guy like wrestles with his kids. He makes dinner for his kids. He fucking does his homework.
That's one
with
thing.
his kids.
I can
This
prepare
fucking
food
guy.
for them. I don't really cook. That's
This
one.
guy's like Michael Keaton. He's like Mr.
I,
Michael.
Actually, that's
I
not true.
love
My
hanging
wife-
out with my kids.
My
Not
wife
all the
would
time.
say that
He's
I've even
lying.
learned
He
to
doesn't
cook.
always.
Oh no! If you watched last episode, I went ape shit on him.
That rage.
But I love my kids so much. Like, my wife manages an Irish pub down the road.
Oh
She'll-
wow.
She'll come at like 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night. Like,
Smelling like other dudes.
smell like just jizz everywhere, right?
And
It's-
Janice, I'm just
Oh, I
kidding.
thought you meant
Jesus
Tricardor.
Christ, I'm just joking.
No, but she'll come in.
She'll beat the fuck out of
Like,
this whole room.
There was a time
I
where
believe all wives. All wives, I believe, can.
She was
can
a bounty
defeat
hunter.
me. I believe
She was a
every
bounty
wife
hunter.
can defeat me.
She was a bounty hunter.
she came in at 6 o'clock in the morning one time, and me and the kids are in the living room watching Michael Jackson videos. She's like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
No,
I
that's
look at
funny.
her,
I
go,
do music with my kids, and so we do Michael
go,
Jackson. One day it's Michael
We're
Jackson.
watching Michael Jackson
Favorite
videos.
artist at the moment?
At the moment to listen to with my kids.
No, at the moment.
Favorite Russ.
Well, honestly, I've been
Hey,
really,
Chris, never mind your story.
been listening to
Hey,
a lot.
bullet, come
Been
on.
listening to a lot of hip hop that I love lately. Like, for example, today I was listening to Talib Kweli because The Beautiful Struggle came out 13 years ago today. Been listening to Sound Bombing too. Like everything. You know what why I've been listening to a lot of hip hop that I really love, and full albums. I love that YouTube. You can just put in blah blah full album.
Beat the
Yeah.
251.
Like, well, Cameron, Purple Haze, I think is one of the best albums ever.
Those kids going to bed.
Whatchamacallit, but I also,
He's
you
not
know,
picking 'em up there.
I've been listening to a lot of that stuff lately because I've been wanting to get in touch with like younger Russ. You know,
Your
as
African roots?
I'm on the phone, I'm trying to like, you know, hustle for the show and get things done for the show. I want to remember how young Russ was like, yeah,
Fuck the
bro,
world. Do you see?
come on.
like we were talking about your comedy and like there's different stages. Like, I mean, probably all of us have different stages of your personality over the years.
Of yourself,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, but I love all kinds of music. That's the funny. I was just gonna say what I was gonna say is.
Marcus Miller is my
but then-
big kick right now.
But then I warm up every day. I do musical theater to warm up every day. But then I love.
What do you do for a musical theater to warm up?
Well, I have my.
Scales.
Or, like,
You know,
are
well, no, my
singing?
song. Well, just songs that I always sing to make sure my
What
voice.
do
You know, if I'm gonna be
you're a
on here
tenor.
today.
You're a tenor,
I heard
aren't
that
you?
on the.
What?
You're a
Hakuna-
tenor.
Well, because I'm a character voice, I could sing as high or as low as is
Hakuna
needed.
Matata. I heard you talking about that on your
Yeah,
comedy
yeah.
special.
I love the music. I love the Broadway musical, but there's like the really high song at the end. I do that. I love Jason Robert Brown. He's my favorite
Okay.
composer.
Yeah, yeah.
He's and I love Flattery and Aarons, who wrote Ragtime. I do a lot of those songs with
You play any
Sophia.
instruments?
What?
You play?
I play drums. I play guitar and piano. Just
Let's
a
pay
tiny-
attention
just
to
to
the guy.
suit your voice.
Right.
Yeah. Well, piano, I sort of still had to be able to at least be like, where's
Yeah,
my,
but-
for an audition.
But with a piano, you're able
Let
to
him finish his story.
You're able. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. Yeah, no, but I
It's usually his.
one of the
department.
things I plan on doing. There are two things. I was telling you one of them. There are two things I'm gonna do in the next 10 years of my
Porn?
life. No. Now that I have, comedy is kind of like
My porn would be a comedy.
Selling your.
It would just be me
You're-
seizuring on top of a chick like an epileptic. Are we good?
And then they both
There's
cry.
got to be. Listen, the internet's a weird place.
They
There's
both
got to be a
cry at the
market
end.
for it.
It would be
What
fake
was
Next
the
news.
things you're
question?
gonna do in the next 10 years.
Learn that really learn to play the piano. I know how to play it like rawly or a little bit, but now that I have an office and they got me a keyboard that's supposed to be there
You
next
can
week.
put the time.
Are they
into it.
waiting?
Well, just now there's YouTube tutorials,
Well,
you know, like
The other
or
thing you
whatever.
find too is that you get to a point where your kids aren't as high maintenance.
Well, yeah, and
You know,
I already know how to play a little bit.
Right, but then you can start exploring Russ again, and you're not so much dad all
But
the
I have to
time.
say now that because we have the house now, we're not in the one bedroom apartment. I have to thank my wife and my mother-in-law, who, like I said, they're the ones who bought the house and they let me live. No, but
You're a guest.
but they gave me
Who's
a
the guy who lived
basement.
with OJ?
Like they gave me a.
What's your favorite chord?
what?
What would
Kata.
be your,
Kata.
what would be your favorite?
You know, I
chord?
wouldn't. I would say that I don't really know which chord. I just know how to do it. Like basically,
Look
I
at
don't
him
know.
so
if it's-
sidetracked right now.
I know.
No. Master playing the piano and Wing Chun Kung Fu are the two things at this stage
In
of my
some
life.
countries, they're
D
the one
major
and the
7
same.
sharp
Yeah,
11.
that I'm gonna.
No, I would
that
say
I'm
that would be
gonna
my
learn.
favorite chord.
I like Wing Chun piano.
Oh, okay. Wing Chun piano.
It's very
Well,
aggressive
yeah.
style.
Let me ask you a question here, completely off topic here because we talked about it 30 minutes ago. What did you think about the new Klingon's appearance?
Oh, if you want to talk about the new Star Trek,
Yeah,
I'd
we
say
got
talk
it.
about
That's
we
a great
got-
idea. Hey,
we gotta
Russ,
bring it in.
great idea.
Well, the first, I want to say one of my favorite tweets about the
They
new Star
look like
Trek.
barracudas. They
Yeah.
did.
Well, they reminded me of the design. They definitely reminded me more of the design of the J.J. Abrams version. Now the
Yes.
Klingons were taken out of the. Now I like the J.J. Star Trek.
I didn't feel like the ridges in her head were as pronounced as they should be.
Well, like I said, they went with that more minimalist design that you
Yeah.
definitely saw come up in
But there was a
Star
lot-
Trek Into Darkness.
There was a lot more prosthetic, so you
But-
can't get the actors to emote
But
as
what
much.
was the one thing that Bullet liked about it is that you could do the closed captions to
Well, in Klingon.
translate the Klingon.
Oh.
Oh,
Well, no,
yeah.
I did
Oh.
like that.
Yeah.
I did like that because also, there are people that get married in Klingon, like it's a real, there are college courses on it. No, my favorite,
You didn't even
thing,
drink it?
my
What's
favorite
the
tweet I
tweet?
saw is from Andy Beckerman, who is Naomi Ekperigin, who I mentioned earlier, is her fiance, or Jubu, as she refers to him. And they're both hysterical and geniuses. The main thing I learned from watching Star Trek Discovery is that the planet Vulcan has a Dominican salon stocked with
Wow!
relaxer.
Holy shit!
Because it was really just such a funny, because they really did get the hair done, but it was such a perfect, there was no way ever to describe Vulcan hair more perfectly than that. I've been watching Star Trek for my whole life. I've never heard it described
Are you a
as
Next Generation guy or your original?
Yeah, Next Generation
Sorry,
turned 30 today, right?
I thought the graphics.
Yeah,
on the-
IGN had the best post. They had him playing the flute.
Yes.
The graphics on the new one were very well done.
Yeah, I loved
The
it.
storyline
Very
was good.
reminiscent of the Kelvin
I-
timeline and the
Everything
JJ timeline.
who's the guy that kind of plays like the Uhura guy, like the guy who's got the. He said his family is like his people are raised as like cattle.
Oh, the you mean the alien guy?
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
can sense the coming of death. I forget what his name is.
I
but
like him.
That's played by Doug Jones, who, if you like the two Hellboy movies that
That's
Guillermo
who it
del
is.
Toro-
I knew
in
the
the
voice.
first one, Guillermo del
I
Doug
love Guillermo
Jones.
del-
Doug Jones in the first Hellboy was just the fish guy. I'll just say fish guy. So people.
I
don't
like
get
that
lost.
guy.
Did you see the trailer
But-
for Like Water, The Shape of Water? Guillermo del Toro's new movie?
No,
No, but I'm excited.
we're staying on Star Trek right now.
I'm
It
just,
won all the prizes. But anyway,
he
Doug
brought it
Jones
up.
plays that character. he was one of the world's best mimes. And in the first Hellboy, it was him
Mime
doing
is
all.
a horrible thing to
He was
waste.
doing all of the motions, but it was David Hyde Pierce
That's good.
that did the voice. But in the second Hellboy, which I love the Golden Army. I thought that
They
was
were
a
both
really
good.
fun movie. I love the Barry Manilow moment. I love Ron Perlman. But it was Doug Jones that played the dude.
Fish guy.
Yeah, Fish Guy. We'll just say Fish Guy. I don't know
I don't
why I'm
even know what his
blanking
name
on the
is.
name. I'm blanking on the
Abe.
name. Abe. And I
Yes.
just rewatched them, of course, because I'm so
But
excited
when I
about
was watching
David
Star
Harbour.
Trek last night, I'm like, where do I know this dude from?
Yeah, you could see the way, even in the movements, and the way
mannerisms,
he talks,
but
yeah.
it was very reminiscent
Is
of
he a
Abe.
really tall guy? Like,
Abe Sapien.
He's very,
yeah, he's lean.
very lanky. Yeah,
Yeah.
great
like an
and a
Anderson
wonderful.
Silva.
I think a wonderful actor. I think he emotes what he's doing so much through silence, and where he places his shoulders is
There-
always very precise.
There's a lot. I think a lot of people discount the fact when they see a lot of prosthetics and makeup, but I think a really good actor, it's almost, again, going with the music thing, you're limiting yourself where, you have a smaller drum kit to where you have to get more out of this.
Well, yeah,
smaller
but that's
drum
why
kit.
Doug is so perfect because everything
but
he
look
does
at a guy
is
like Lon
precise.
Chaney. Lon Chaney was the man of 1,000 feet. Sorry.
Yeah.
I put my headphones on. Even,
He
see,
like
here's
to
the
mess
thing.
his hair.
Well, actually, no. This
He's gonna
it
wait
made
till
a
an
dent-
hour and
It made
10
a
minutes,
dent in my
20 minutes
perfect
into
hair.
this.
Hey, are you
Why?
seeing this?
Here's the
Hey,
thing.
look, it made a dent in my
I
perfect
haven't
hair.
put
I have a
any-
private
Looks
barber,
good.
man. I
I
went out
haven't-
of my way to get this
Does
done.
my
Hey,
hair
Gus,
look good?
Gus.
I haven't put product on
Both
my
of you
hair.
guys
in
have
2
good
weeks.
hair. One of the things that we were setting
I
up
have
the
great hair.
we were hold on.
I
Russ,
thought-
You know what? I'm gonna put the camera on it.
I'm gonna comment on Russ's hair for a second.
What about mine?
I'm gonna put
Yours
the
is
camera on
great
it
as
right
well,
now, Chris.
But there's a camera right behind Russ that's kind of seeing me as well. And Todd's like, "Well, Russ's head's in the picture." I'm like, "Russ has a good head of hair."
Yeah. Well, Albert Trockout, one of my
No,
best
it's just
buddies who
full
I
and
grew up with,
luxurious.
he cuts my hair at his house.
You're like a short-haired Fabio.
Thank you. And if you
Beautiful.
go, and
It's
if you go, and
fucking
if you
beautiful.
and if you look through my stuff on the internet, I've had really long hair down to here.
So have I.
Well, even the picture
And
that's underneath your
Right.
now is long hair.
Yeah, that I used to have that long hair, and then when I wrote one of the things that made me popular in New York, and it almost became a cartoon at
If
one
you're
point,
gonna say your hair, I'm gonna
was
hate
the
you.
was the musical Gangsta Pella that I wrote. Even though it took
Gangsta Pella.
classic hip hop songs and reinvented them, and again, it was about the world's first gangster rap a cappella group of all white people and one Asian midget samurai beatbox who together formed the Fellowship of the
Why do
Blade
I love this?
to stop Osama bin Affleck and the Al Qaeda
When does
network
this
from
come out
taking
on
over New Jersey.
DVD.
So again, it almost became an animated series. It's something that I really loved.
It sounds good.
It was a great live show
Put it
because
away.
it was
I'm showing
Yeah,
my
yeah.
long hair.
yeah, it was a great mix of sort of structured improv, musical
That
theater.
was 2 months ago with long hair.
Oh wow, that I used to
Oh,
have hair
wow.
exactly like
Oh,
that.
wow.
See, look at this.
Really long, but my hair
You-
naturally.
Here's the thing.
You
You,
know,
guys
Will-
are the same guy, but if Russ got stung by 1,000 bees,
Right. Well, do you know Will Ferrell's hair? You know Will Ferrell's hair in semi-pro.
Yes.
If when my hair grows out naturally. So in Gangsta Pella, because we had to be Gangsta Pella all the time, and it was like,
You have to.
and even when we were off stage
You had to be
at the
hardcore,
bar
no matter
afterwards,
what.
we would be in character. So like the bassist, it was Elemental Pleasure, or Brian, but his name was Elemental Pleasure, the greatest rap name ever. And we had Dirty
I gotta get a rap
Sanchez.
name.
We had Dirty Sanchez, the Mexican raised by the white kid raised by
give you
Mexicans.
one.
You know, in East LA. We had all these different characters.
Hold on, say that again. The Dirty
Dirty
Sanchez.
Sanchez was a white boy who was found and raised by Mexicans in East LA, kind of like the you
Nacho
know,
Libre.
like, yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, but again, before that, we were 2003,
I apologize.
and no, there was a lot. Well, what was funny about Gangsta Fella was it had a lot of cultural, different flashpoints of geek
Right.
culture, music culture, hip hop culture, appropriated white boy, b-boy culture, and musical theater all sort of in one. And I loved it so much. I wrote every part for the actors, or they were musicians who I convinced.
so you knew who you were putting in the part.
Yeah, I like to write for. I really,
Right.
anything I've ever been hired to write or have written.
It's easier to write directly. Like if you were picking a character for Bullet, you'd write for him.
I prefer to
versus
write.
his
Who
trying
would you, what kind of a character would you
put
pick
him
for me?
into a spot.
Oh shit.
Well, I would just write whoever I was going to play, and then you would be easy because you would be able to play all
Yeah,
the
but
all
I
the
feel
things.
like-
You'd be
I
as
feel
fucked up.
like-
He'd be the jumbo version of.
You'd be
Russ.
elemental. You'd be elemental
Jumbo
pleasures.
because you're taller.
You'd be elemental pleasures brother. What's another? X, Y, and Z.
Here's what it is. I think a lot of people look at me and go, well, that's a big cocksman. He's very sure of himself.
Yeah, no, coxswain was the first word that came.
You
to
know,
mind.
he's very sure of himself. You know, he's got the ink. He's got the fucking big dick. You know, and all these things. But really, here's the deal.
Let me break it down for you.
Let me break it down for you. I'm afraid to leave my house.
Are you gonna go Ric Flair?
Have you heard him do Ric Flair?
I haven't heard him do Ric Flair.
Or-
I was friendly,
or
just so
Dusty
you guys
Rhodes.
know. I think you guys will love this.
I feel like this is Dusty Rhodes right here.
This is Dusty
Give him
Rhodes.
Dusty Rhodes for a
Who are
second.
you friends with?
Well, I'll tell you guys I'm in a wrestler who I was friends with before he passed. Roddy Piper,
Oh,
who I knew
shit.
from the Comedy Store. He would come into the Comedy Store and get on stage and tell
Their
stories.
best friend, Amulet. Just hand it to him now.
Yeah, I mean, he was my favorite wrestler, and it was so cool because actually, when we found out,
That's like
He's gonna.
what's that like Ragnar on Vikings?
You're part of
well,
my
actually,
tribe.
he was one of the first people that ever knew that my wife and I were pregnant because we couldn't tell our friends and family, and I had to do a show at the
You
House
had
of
to tell
Blues.
somebody.
I had to do a show at the House of Blues, and he was on the show.
I
and
loved Rob.
I was so scared,
I cried.
and he grabbed me by the shoulder, and you'll love this. And he said, "Let me tell you something, Russ. You know, you're a great guy. You got a great heart. I can
love
tell by
Roddy.
talent." And he goes, "When I first had Colt, I was so scared."
His son.
He goes, "I didn't know if I could be a father. I'm Roddy Piper. How can I be a father?" You know, da da da. And he goes, you know, and he basically just gave for 5 minutes. He just imagine Roddy Piper. Imagine my little body.
Embraced you.
Imagine my little body.
Well, you're talking about your great life story with Roddy Piper.
Oh yeah, no, and it was great because he.
And meanwhile, I'm on the road. Millions of women looking at their
What did he
mothers.
say? 10,000 women. He said, right?
10,000 women.
That's what he said.
Ric Flair. Woo! When you're the world's heavyweight champion. You know what I'm talking about. When you've got the 10 pounds of gold.
He's got that like he just got over a cold thing, you know.
I just got over a cold, but I had my face
So were you
down
at Wing
between
Bowl?
their
Were you at Wing
thighs.
Bowl to see Nature Boy?
I love Ric Flair's like one of my personal heroes.
Well, like I said, for me, I loved wrestling growing up, and a lot of comedians actually.
Who's your favorite guy?
Well, again, Roddy Piper was really
Okay.
even though he was the villain. I liked all like the usual suspects, but I always thought he was just so funny.
Best fight
Love
scene. Best fight
Oh,
scene
yeah.
in
Oh,
movie
yeah.
history.
Oh, yeah.
With
They live, baby.
with
I'm all out of bubble gum.
Oh yeah.
no. That God damn it! I always remember his name. He was the
I
voice in
can't believe you
Gargoyles.
can't remember this.
Oh,
Black guy.
I know what you're talking about. But also, he did a movie with like Sonny Chiba. He told me a
He was
great
on Always
story.
Sunny. He was on Always Sunny. a lot.
Oh yeah, and he told me a great story about like Sonny Chiba. You know, he would get on stage and tell great stories. You guys would love this because it wasn't
Roddy
stand
Piper
up.
was the
It was
man.
just he was Roddy Piper, and any story he told you wanted to hear. And
Right.
of course, comedians would crowd in because we all love
Yeah, because
professional
this
wrestling.
dude's
We still love
bigger
professional
than life.
Right, and he would, and you know, he was sober. He had sobered up.
Yeah.
And he would tell these great stories about how he literally once had to wrestle an actual bear at the LA Coliseum. Like, basically, they called him and they said, "You're going to fight Boris the bear." And he thought, oh
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a big Russian guy. You know, and he gets there and they're like, "Okay, it's a real bear. Now, here's what you do. You never hit it on the stout. You never... Da-da-da."
Don't piss it off.
And he would tell these great stories about Andre the
Put it
Giant,
away.
how one time
For the guys
one
in
time these college guys were like challenging him to like, you know, drink and do this and do that and harassing him. So he went, it was like a college team. So Andre the Giant drinks like a whole, you know,
That could-
like
the
giant,
world
a
heavyweight
giant
champion
thing,
of
a
drinking.
giant like mug of whatever beer, walks outside, turns
Keith
over
David.
turns over the
That's the name. Keith David.
turns over the guy's bus. Like, so Roddy would
Just
tell
lifts
all of these great stories. But again, for me, it was just funny that you guys brought the wrestling up or whatever. That was one of the first people
What about
that
Dusty
even
Rhodes?
gave me the. Oh, of course. And I liked all of them. I really loved anybody who was on the Hulk Hogan cartoon, right? Any of those wrestlers from that era who were popular enough to be on that cartoon, I loved. Plus Ultimate Warrior.
Kids
Give him a little dusty. Give
Kids
him a little
don't know
dusty.
what it's like to
Yeah, I
have
went to see
Saturday
Ultimate-
morning wrestling.
But I went to see WrestleMania or whatever at the Spectrum. I don't know if it was WrestleMania, but it was like they came to
You
Philadelphia.
would know which one was WrestleMania.
Let me tell you something.
But it wasn't WrestleMania. It was just like one of the times they came to Philadelphia, and I saw Piper. I saw Ultimate Warrior.
I used to go to WCW wrestling all the time. He's got anxiety. You don't drink his bottle.
That's what I'm talking to you about, baby.
When you grabbed it, I saw Russ do this. He's
yeah,
like,
well, because it's got like lemon and honey
Oh,
in it,
God,
so I
don't
don't have
touch
an
my mouth.
allergy attack.
Right here, baby. The American dream, Dusty Road, talking to you, baby. And you're giving me your water bottle. You're giving me the thing of life. Thank you very much. I want you to reach out. I want your hand to touch my hand through the television screen, baby. I want all of the great fans of Jim Crockett Promotions, ladies and gentlemen, to tell me that I am coming for you, Ric Flair. Ric Flair, the world heavyweight champion. Let me tell you one thing. I am the second most recognizable athlete only to Muhammad Ali, baby. And I'm going to tell you what, baby. When I get you Ric Flair, the world heavyweight champion, I'm going to take from you the only thing that matters to you, baby. That is going to be the world's heavyweight champion. And once again, I will be to the mountaintop. I want you to reach out. I want your hand to touch my hand. There will be a transference, if you will, baby. There will be a power. You giving me your power, baby. And I will repay that in kind, if you will, when we defeat Ric Flair.
The reason I know it's so great is thanks to YouTube, because you could just, like, there's days where I would just be like, I'm gonna go watch a bunch of old wrestling shit talking.
I'm gonna watch.
Because that was my, because
That
as
was
a
my
comedian,
shit.
that was my favorite. I was a kid and I still wanted to be a comic, so I loved stand up, but I loved
I
the
get drunk.
entertainment of wrestling. I loved when they would do their speeches. I loved that
Just
it was
get
all
up there and
because
talk.
I knew it was all like great performances.
I get drunk and call people as Dusty Rhodes
That's very
or
exciting.
Ric Flair.
He does call
And
me
we're
all the
starting
time.
to we're final straight, right?
Yeah, we're
Is that-
getting there.
Okay.
But
we're looking at, what, Hugh Hefner?
no, we're looking at episode 200.
I was about to say,
Yeah, I heard you say this episode 199. I saw
199.
your post for
We
the
actually
200.
postponed it for you.
Oh.
Yeah. Can I just say two things?
All right.
Well, let me just say one thing. There is no way, if there is an afterlife, that Hugh Hefner's in a better place.
That's a good
Yeah,
point.
it can only be
It's
the worst.
always
Yeah,
a
it can
down.
only be down.
It's a
from
step
there.
down.
It
Um,
can't be. It's just got to be amazing.
Hugh, you
He
pretty
lives an
much did it
amazing
all.
life.
Episode 200, though,
Next week we're at the Broken Goblet.
So
Very
basically-
excited that you guys are doing it live.
2 days
Yeah.
ago was our 6-year anniversary.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 2 days ago was our 6-year anniversary. And it, just the way that things just happened. It was just like, I wanted to do a podcast because being a musician, it was always like, well, I got to rely on other people. And I think that's probably part of the attraction of a comedian, where it's all on you. And
Yeah, like I said, I accidentally became a producer of comedy, and
Yeah,
ended up
well, I
becoming this
accidentally-
sort of curator of comedy, like
By
accidentally.
accident.
So, but musical theater prepared
But-
me for it.
just by chance, and we'll talk about this on the live show, just I wanted to do a podcast, and my buddy Marty helped me get a board, and I just watched YouTube videos and got books and learned how to do it. And I did it for maybe 2 months before I published anything. And this guy would put me through walls at the gym. No, literally. And I would
No joking.
no
No,
joking.
I believe you. When
And-
he said, "You want to come on my podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, don't hit me."
Right? And I was like, okay, well, do you want to be on this podcast? He said, yeah, sure. And just throughout 6 years, people see it now, again, to a comedy thing, they see the finished product, and by no means are we a finished product, but
It's more refined than it was.
all the changes that have happened with this podcast have been organic, where it was just audio, and then, hey, we're going to stick a camera here, and then we're going through the board, and then we got multi-cameras and video and all this shit. But we're going to do a live show in Bristol, PA. I'd love for you to come out.
That's when is it?
It's next
October
Tuesday
3rd
Next Tuesday night.
at 9
at 8
o'clock.
p.m.
I will.
8
I
p.m.
will. I,
8 p.m., but we don't go on until 9.
I will attempt to get
We're
clearance.
going to go on at 8 p.m. We're
Attempt to get
No,
clearance.
no. We're going on at 8 p.m.
Okay.
But it's going to be at my buddy's brewery. And they got a good crowd of people, really cool people.
We got a lot of
You can,
people coming
if
out
you
to
can
see
or
us.
not. But
We're going to pull the Rus Gutin move where we fill the room with people we know.
Yeah, with the Rus Gutin.
No, but-
That's what I used to do. Well, because when you're younger, you want to stack the deck.
Well,
You
here's
wanna-
the thing.
But we're older,
And
Russ.
now I
We're
would
older,
just
Russ.
prefer it be all
playing
strangers.
We're
in
Gutinizing it.
bands for 20 years. More. Jesus Christ. Playing in bands for 20-something years, it gets disappointing. People say they're going to show up and they don't. We're really
Just like comedy.
we're really setting ourselves up here because this is the first live show we've ever done. And
Prepare To be yeah.
Yeah.
But I will be inspired by the
Well,
show
no,
I
but
saw.
this is what you learn at the Comedy Store, and this is what you learned when you were there that night, and this is what I've learned.
You always roll with it.
It doesn't.
Keep going.
If there's 3 people or 300 people,
You
if it's a
entertain
good
them.
show and you have a good time, those people.
The
are
show goes on.
A lot of times in LA, I have to tell you, one of the best sets I ever had was in the old Improv Lab. They do have a new version of the lab now.
We're on Sunset?
Yeah, or Melrose is.
Yeah, we're right off that.
Yeah, is
know what you're talking
Improv,
about.
and then the Comedy Store is on Sunset with the Laugh Factory.
I did an open mic there one time.
Oh, at the Improv, yeah, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes.
There was like, Russ, why don't you do the open mic? I go, oh, because I'm working at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I go out at night when comedy's done.
I was on vacation. So I was like, okay.
And what you call it? And one of the best sets I ever did was, it was like literally 8 or 9 people in the lab, and the lab only held about, like, I would say 60, or whatever. But I was trying new stuff, and I was really excited about this new stuff. And you know what? That stuff ended up lasting me, for like, I must have done some of those.
You
bits
learn
for 2
more
years.
from that moment with.
I
a few
did because
people than
those
you do
people
with
really liked
a
it,
bunch.
and I was like, this is like, So again, I would encourage anybody.
Well, and I will say, Chris was so impressed when he went to see your comedy club, and he was a little off. Oh my God, what's going on? But then he's like, they killed.
I
Yeah,
really
I had a
appreciate it,
fucking
and everybody
awesome
was
time.
so great,
I had
and
the best
thank you.
time.
And PhillyComedyClub.com, just to say it again.
CAY Pod.
Well, yeah. Well, this I'll
Well, we talked about the discount last week. Whatever the normal price when you put in the pod, like the CAY pod, it's $5 more now.
yeah, it's $5 more, and then Chris punches you in the face.
And I
hello.
just get anxiety about it.
But actually, I'm glad. Thank you guys for giving me the platform to your listeners.
Oh, we love having you on.
So it's Philly Comedy Club. It's every Friday at 7:30, and it's kind of right now. It's
What's the address?
Well, this is what I'm going to explain it. It's a sort of, think of it like a pop-up comedy club. And every Friday night at 7:30, we transform Infusion Lounge, which is 16 South 2nd Street on 2nd and Market, essentially. We take Infusion Lounge, which is next door to Cuba Libre, and we just turn it in to Philly Comedy Club at 7:30. Doors are at 6:30.
And it's a good time.
And it's really great. It's always 4 or 5 comics.
I'm predicting within the next year, that's the premier comedy club.
Well, at least it'll be the premier show in town. Our goal is for it to grow to 7:30 and 9:30 on Fridays, and then maybe a second night. And that's real. We want it to be exclusive. We want it to be limited. We want it to be premium, and top shelf at all times. All killer, no
Top
filler.
shelf liquor?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, not only that, Infusion, the
some good drinks
Infusion, the lounge. They have every premium label, special label you can imagine of everything.
They got
Middleton
a good
Red?
menu. Wait, what was the one?
I'm not the
Hold on.
expert. Jamie, the owner of
there's
Infusion, is the
there's a
expert.
drink that I had that's on the menu and I can't
Well,
remember.
we have a specialty cocktail menu that was designed by Cocktail Culture that does the.
What's the one? There's one
The
that's
Bill Cosby did not
Yeah.
touch this.
there's a Bill
Mrs.
Cosby.
Doubtfire, the Charlie Chaplin.
The Bill Cosby puts you out and you wake up with your ass.
That's right. That's right. You wake up at another comedy show, except you're the mic. And then again, PhillyComedyClub.com, and when you buy tickets online, you use the promo code CAYPod, and that'll get you $15 tickets.
Yes.
To get into the show. It's a 2-drink minimum, but like I said, even the specialty cocktail
Such
menu,
a good time.
everything's $8 to $12. So it's really a great time.
Can I just say this? The best arroz con pollo that I ever had in
Thank
my
you.
life
I know what you're gonna say. Thank
was
you.
at Cuba Libre.
That's my uncle's restaurant. And
Jesus Christ.
I've always wanted to be. I've always tried to emulate what I've learned
the
from him,
best
but put it to what
I
I
ever
do.
had in my life.
It's my favorite arroz con pollo. That's what they will usually
Oh
get if they're gonna save food for me, or if they if my parents go, they'll order arroz con pollo, leave it in the fridge at their house, and I pick it up when I drop
because
off
I
my
got the
daughter.
big center, and I was like, I don't know.
Oh
if I
yeah,
feel
and
this.
all
And
the
food
the
came, and I was
empanadas
like,
they
oh
do
my
now is
God.
amazing. So again, and also we even do a dinner deal with them. If you go to Cuba Libre and make a
Go right
reservation
downstairs
for
and
the
eat.
comedy menu, it's $30 per person. Each person gets 2 appetizers, 1 entree, and Cuban flan for dessert, and then you get into the show for $10.
Perfect.
As long as you get the voucher
And
from
I
Cuba
swear
Libre.
to God, it's a good time. Go see
And they'll do the dinner menu after
Russ.
too.
Go down. Come see us next Tuesday night.
Broken Goblet in Bristol, PA.
8
Russ is going to be there. Just go with it.
Do you want me to do
Just
a set?
pretend. Yeah, you can do
Oh,
a set.
okay. Well, that's
Do we gotta pay you?
$6,000.
You gotta pay, oh, fuck up.
But here's the thing.
What if Chris threatens to like jujitsu?
Go see.
I mean, I can't really.
Go
that's how I
to
ended up
go to
here.
PhillyComedyClub.com. Get your tickets. Go see Russ's crew.
Yeah, tomorrow night we have Akash Singh from MTV. He's on like every show on
Big
MTV.
show tomorrow night.
He's amazing.
It's going to get bigger every week.
Well, next week also we have, if you know the website Barstool Sports.
Yes.
We have 2 shows on October 6th, 7:30 and 9:30, which of course is the dream to get to there all the time. But that's with Francis Ellis and the other dude from Barstool Sports.
What's
There you
the
go.
parking like?
Well,
It's
again, there's street parking, there's expensive valet parking or lot parking. Here's what I suggest, and of course
Here
we
we
are
go.
looking for sponsorship. So here's me pitching to you.
Here we
We
go.
would like to very much be sponsored by Spot Hero, which is a great app I recommend for
What's
parking.
Spot Hero?
That's
Spot
where you find
Hero.
a parking.
I'm glad you asked, Chris.
You can reserve cheap parking in all different major
Really?
market cities.
Holy
So
shit.
Spot Hero, I recommend. So whatchamacallit? Wow, he had one job, but he's gonna pay.
Yeah, I know, it's terrible. He's got the bladder.
So
Here it
please,
is.
Spot Hero,
Spot
contact
Hero.
me.
Wait a minute.
I want your money,
Spot
and I
Hero,
will say
get
I will
parking.
say Spot Hero every third word.
There it is. Download it.
I
right
thought
now.
Spot Hero originally was a way to hide that you had gotten some pee on your khakis, but
Might
it's
happen
not
soon.
that. It's a very useful app.
So next week, come see us on Tuesday at the Broken Goblet. Go see Russ's crew down at
Philly Comic Club
Philly
every
Comic
Friday
Club
at Infusion Lounge.
Go to, what's your uncle's restaurant next door?
Cuba Libre is
Cuba
next
Libre.
door, and you can find us on Instagram at Philly Comedy Club, and on Twitter we're at Philly_comedy.
Russ, I super appreciate you coming on. I hope you had a
Really,
good time.
this was really fun.
And we're going to do this, hopefully, a couple more times for sure.
No, I
He's
enjoyed.
never
yeah.
coming
Now,
back.
Yeah.
once we bury his body.
He's like, fuck
No,
On
thank
that
you.
note-
I love this set. I really love everything around here. All of the geek stuff.
I had everything to do with it.
Wade Wilson being right above me is very, very cool.
Well, thank you so much for
Thanks for
coming on.
having me. Thanks, Philly Comedy Club. Thanks, Emilio and the team in New
Awesome.
York. Thank you.
Bang. That was fun.